Welcome to Mr. Sleepy Stories. Tonight, we'll have a gentle chat about bears. These remarkable animals live across the world, from snowy Arctic ice to quiet mountain forests. Each species has its own way of surviving. Some sleep through winter, some spend their days searching for berries, and others, like the polar bear, swim long distances across the sea. Bears are curious, intelligent, and deeply connected to the places they live. They help forests grow by spreading seeds and even shape the land with their digging and foraging. As we learn more about them tonight, we'll discover how much their world reflects our own, one built on balance, rest, and quiet strength. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's explore the calm and fascinating life of bears together. If you enjoy what I do here, please like, subscribe, and share your experiences with this video topic in the comments below. I'd love to read your stories and hear how these calming facts help you relax before bed. Long before bears roamed snowy mountains or dense forests, their ancestors walked the earth looking more like dogs than the heavy giants we know today. About 38 million years ago, the lineage that would become Ursidae, the bear family, split off from other early carnivores. Back then, these animals were smaller, leaner, and built for running, much like wolves. But over millions of years, nature reshaped them into powerful omnivores capable of surviving almost anywhere. The bear family includes just 8 living species today: the brown bear, polar bear, American black bear, Asiatic black bear, sun bear, sloth bear, panda, and spectacled bear. Despite their differences in size and diet, they all share deep physical clues to their shared ancestry: broad skulls, strong jaws, plantigrade feet that walk flat like humans, and a remarkable adaptability to both meat and vegetation. Scientists believe the early bear-like ancestor, Parictus, started appearing in what is now North America before spreading to Europe and Asia. Over time, they grew larger and more omnivorous, developing claws for digging, paws for climbing, and digestive systems that could handle both berries and bones. Even after millions of years, you can still glimpse their dog-like past in the way bears move, sniff the air, and mark their territory. Echoes of a time when the forests were filled with early predators experimenting with survival. Every modern bear, from the gentle panda to the fearsome grizzly, carries that ancient genetic memory, connecting them to one of Earth's oldest carnivore families. Bears may look like pure muscle and instinct, but behind those dark, curious eyes is one of the most powerful brains in the animal kingdom. Among all land-dwelling carnivores, bears have some of the largest and most complex brains relative to body size, rivaling even great apes in certain cognitive abilities. This intelligence shows not in language or tools, but in memory, problem-solving, and an uncanny sense of understanding the world around them. Researchers have observed bears solving puzzles designed for primates, remembering routes and food sources for years, and even learning to adapt to human behavior. In Alaska, brown bears have been seen waiting at fishing spots for salmon runs to begin, not by chance, but by recalling the exact time of year and river conditions. In parts of North America, black bears have figured out how to open car doors, unlatch coolers, and even remove screw-top jars. Once they learn, they don't forget. Their intelligence isn't limited to survival tricks. Bears show curiosity, creativity, and playfulness, traits often linked to higher cognition. In zoos and sanctuaries, they have been seen stacking objects to reach food or manipulating tools to scratch an itch. Their spatial memory is exceptional. They can navigate territories spanning hundreds of kilometers without losing track of landmarks. A large brain also supports emotional awareness. Mother bears teach cubs through gentle correction, while siblings engage in complex social play that builds coordination and hierarchy. To see a bear in the wild is to glimpse an ancient mind at work, not just reacting, but observing, remembering, and choosing. Strength may define their presence, but intelligence defines their success. They are thinkers of the wilderness, proof that raw power and deep perception can exist in perfect balance. A bear never really forgets. Whether it's a salmon-rich riverbank, a berry-filled hillside, or a campsite that once held food, bears can remember precise locations for decades. This remarkable spatial memory is one of their greatest survival tools, allowing them to thrive in territories that can span thousands of square kilometers. Scientists studying tagged bears in North America have recorded individuals returning to the exact same feeding sites year after year, even after migration routes, seasons, or generations have changed. In Alaska and British Columbia, brown bears have been observed arriving at salmon streams just as the first fish appear, timing their visits with near-perfect accuracy. They don't rely solely on instinct. They recall experience, season, and geography all at once. This same memory applies to human settlements. When a bear finds food near a cabin, campsite, or garbage dump, it remembers. Even if years pass, the association remains. Wildlife managers often note that relocated bears, moved hundreds of kilometers away, sometimes make the long journey back to familiar areas, guided by an internal map few other animals possess. Such intelligence has a double edge. It helps bears survive in a world where food can be scarce, but it also brings them dangerously close to people. Once they associate humans with easy meals, they'll return again and again, often leading to conflict. Yet this memory is also a sign of a mind deeply tuned to its environment. A bear doesn't wander aimlessly. It walks through a mental landscape rich with history. Each valley, stream, and meadow a remembered story of survival. Long after we've forgotten where we camped or hiked, the bear still knows, retracing its steps through a world it never truly leaves behind. Tool use is often seen as a hallmark of intelligence, something we associate with primates, dolphins, or clever birds. But even among the great predators of the wild, A few bears have proven they belong in that same category. In certain regions of North America and Eurasia, brown bears have been observed using objects in surprisingly deliberate ways, rolling stones or pieces of wood into shallow streams to block the escape routes of fish. It's a simple but effective strategy. When salmon gathered to spawn, the water becomes a chaotic rush of movement. By nudging rocks into position or disturbing the riverbed, a bear can create small pockets or traps that slow the fish down, making them easier to catch. This kind of behavior isn't instinctive. It's learned through observation, trial, and memory. Researchers have documented younger bears watching older ones fish, mimicking their methods season after season until they refine their own technique. Such moments challenge the old idea that bears are purely instinct-driven. Instead, they show the mind of a problem solver, an animal that experiments with its environment, remembers what works, and repeats it. It's the same reasoning that allows bears to open latches, unseal containers, or navigate human-made obstacles with patience rather than brute force. Among large carnivores, this level of behavioral flexibility is rare. Tool use requires not only intelligence, but imagination, the ability to see an object and think, "This could help me." For the brown bear, evolution provided the strength, but experience provided the insight. So when a bear wades into a stream and shifts a few stones before waiting patiently, it's not just fishing. It's demonstrating a quiet kind of ingenuity, one that reminds us how deeply thinking and adaptation run beneath that thick fur and silent gaze. When most people imagine a grizzly bear eating, they picture a feast, a powerful animal tearing through salmon or carrion with urgency. But grizzly bears don't always devour their food in one sitting. When the opportunity arises, they plan ahead. After finishing part of a kill or large meal, a grizzly bear will often cover the remains with soil, leaves, and branches, creating a natural cache. This simple act transforms the forest floor into a hidden pantry, one that the bear can return to days later when hunger strikes again. Caching food requires more than instinct. It shows awareness, memory, and strategy. Grizzlies understand that a meal left in the open will quickly attract scavengers, wolves, ravens, or even other bears. By burying or concealing their leftovers, they mask the scent and make it harder for others to find. In cooler climates, this method also slows decay, preserving the meat for later use, much like refrigeration in nature. Researchers have observed bears returning precisely to these hidden spots after days or even weeks, guided by memory and scent. Some bears even mark the area by rubbing trees or clawing nearby logs, perhaps as a way to signal ownership to potential rivals. It's a quiet moment of foresight in a creature built for raw strength. The same animal that can uproot a tree also takes the time to hide a meal with care and precision. This behavior bridges instinct and intelligence, an understanding that food, like opportunity, must be protected. So, beneath the power and ferocity often associated with grizzlies lies something subtler, a sense of preparation. Each cache buried under moss or soil is a reminder that even the fiercest creatures of the wilderness live not just for the hunt, but for the days beyond it. In the quiet corners of wildlife sanctuaries and zoos, caretakers have witnessed something both surprising and deeply telling about the bear's mind. They sometimes mimic human gestures to express what they want. These are not random movements or accidental behaviors. They're deliberate imitations, evidence of understanding that certain actions can influence another being's response. One well-documented example involved a captive black bear that learned to wave its paw when it wanted food. The gesture began as coincidence, a natural motion rewarded by a keeper's attention, but soon became purposeful. Over time, the bear adjusted its movements, timing them to when humans were watching, showing awareness of cause and effect. Similar behaviors have been recorded in brown bears and sun bears, nodding, pointing, or gesturing toward objects of interest like toys, food containers, or gates. This kind of imitation suggests something remarkable, a mental bridge between observation and intention. The bear sees a human perform an action, recognizes the meaning behind it, and repeats it to communicate its own desire. Few animals outside of primates and dolphins show this level of behavioral flexibility. It requires both intelligence and emotional awareness, an understanding that others have thoughts and can respond to signals. Researchers believe such gestures reveal the bear's capacity for social learning, an ability rooted in its solitary yet observant nature. In the wild, bears learn by watching how to fish, climb, or forage, so it's no surprise they can also apply that same learning to interactions with humans. Behind those dark, reflective eyes lies a quiet intelligence, tuned not just to survival, but to connection. When a bear raises its paw to make a request, it offers a glimpse into something profound, an animal aware not only of its world, but of ours. Before stepping onto frozen water, a bear doesn't charge ahead. It tests the ice first. With a slow, deliberate motion, it lowers one massive paw and presses gently, reading the surface for cracks or weakness. It's a moment of quiet calculation, a small act of caution that reveals a surprisingly thoughtful side to an animal built for strength. This behavior has been observed in polar bears crossing frozen sea ice, and in grizzlies navigating icy rivers in northern forests. The gesture isn't instinctive panic, it's learned awareness. Bears understand that not all ice can be trusted, that beneath a deceptive surface lies freezing danger. By applying just enough pressure, they listen for the faint creak of thin ice or feel the give beneath their pads, adjusting their path if something seems wrong. Polar bears, who spend much of their life moving between floating ice sheets, rely on this habit constantly. A misstep could mean a plunge into sub-zero water miles from shore. Their sensitivity to vibration and sound helps them detect unstable areas long before a human would notice the risk. In spring, when ice begins to melt, these tests become more frequent. Each step a small decision between safety and disaster. What makes this behavior so remarkable is what it implies: awareness, memory, and caution born from experience. It's one thing to be powerful enough to break through ice. It's another to know when not to. The image of a bear pressing the ground before crossing reminds us that even the fiercest creatures understand vulnerability. In every careful step, there's intelligence, a quiet instinct to pause, to measure, and to respect the thin boundary between survival and the unknown. Black bears in North America have learned to open car doors and food coolers, not by chance, but through observation and problem solving. In campsites and mountain towns, they've figured out that handles, latches, and knobs are simply puzzles waiting to be solved. Some bears even use their claws or teeth to pull open the lever of a car door, then rummage through seats and trunks with practiced precision, searching for snacks. Wildlife biologists have documented how quickly these skills spread. Once one bear learns how to open something, others soon follow, not through direct teaching, but by watching. A mother bear that opens a cooler will often have cubs who later display the same skill. It's a form of cultural transmission, one of the rarest kinds of learning in the animal kingdom, and it places black bears among the most adaptable species on Earth. Their memory and reasoning play major roles. Bears remember which objects led to rewards and can recall details of human behavior, what time campers usually cook, where food is stored, and even which types of cars are easier to open. Park rangers in places like Yosemite and Banff have recorded bears recognizing specific cooler designs and bypassing weaker locks entirely. For humans, this intelligence can be both awe-inspiring and challenging. Efforts to bear-proof containers have turned into a long-running contest between engineering and instinct, one side inventing, the other learning. This cleverness isn't mischief, it's adaptation. As forests and towns overlap, black bears simply use what nature gave them: curiosity, patience, and sharp memory to survive in a world increasingly shaped by humans. Every opened cooler or unlocked door is a testament to how deeply they observe, learn, and remember. Polar bears sometimes slide down icy slopes purely for fun. They'll climb a ridge or mound of snow, then push off with their front paws, gliding belly first like enormous children on a frozen playground. When the slide ends, they often climb back up and do it again, a moment of pure playfulness in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Scientists observing this behavior have found no practical reason for it. It isn't a hunting strategy, nor does it save energy. It's simple enjoyment, an expression of curiosity and vitality. Cubs are especially fond of it, turning every slope into a game, but adults have been seen joining in too. After long swims or hunts, some will roll in the snow, slide along ridges, or even nudge companions to start a playful chase.
This kind of behavior serves a deeper purpose than amusement alone. In young bears, play strengthens muscles, sharpens coordination, and teaches important social cues. A cub that learns to tumble and slide safely also learns balance and agility, traits that later help it survive on treacherous ice. For adults, it may simply be a way to release tension in a world defined by endurance and solitude. Polar bears, so often portrayed as stoic hunters, reveal in these moments a gentler side, one that reminds us that play is universal. Whether it's a dolphin leaping from the sea or a bear sliding down a snowbank, such acts show an awareness of joy that transcends necessity. In the silence of the Arctic, where the wind shapes every dune of snow, a bear's slide down an icy hill becomes something profound, a brief, glistening reminder that even in the wildest places, life finds room to play.
Bears rub their backs against trees not only to scratch, but to communicate. What looks like a casual stretch or itch is actually part of a quiet language written in scent, a message left for others who pass through the same forest. Each rub transfers traces of oil, skin, and fur from specialized scent glands hidden in their skin. To another bear, those invisible chemicals tell a detailed story. Who was here, whether they were male or female, dominant or young, ready to mate or simply passing by. The behavior is fascinating to watch. A bear will stand on its hind legs, sometimes towering above the undergrowth, and twist its body side to side against a chosen tree. It might grunt softly, push its shoulders deep into the bark, or even step around to rub each flank. Some use the same tree repeatedly, creating a sort of message post where many bears leave overlapping scents. Biologists often find claw marks or tufts of fur clinging to these trees, physical signatures beside the invisible ones. For males, marking helps maintain dominance and spacing, signaling to rivals that the area is claimed. Females may leave scent during breeding season to attract potential mates. Even cubs sometimes mimic the behavior, learning the ritual long before they understand its meaning. This act transforms the forest into a network of communication lines, a place alive with messages humans can't perceive. What seems like simple scratching is actually a deliberate exchange of information, carried by wind and time. Every rubbed tree holds the memory of those who came before, a living notice board in the wilderness. To us, it's just bark and motion. To bears, it's conversation, the silent dialogue of scent that keeps their solitary lives connected. They often sleep in shallow day beds during the warm months, small depressions dug into soil, moss, or forest grass. Unlike the elaborate winter dens where they hibernate, these beds are temporary, built for comfort, not survival. A bear might dig one beneath the shade of a tree, beside a riverbank, or high in a cool mountain meadow, depending on the season and the day's heat. The purpose is simple: rest and relief. During summer, bears spend long hours foraging, walking miles in search of berries, roots, or carrion. When the afternoon sun grows heavy, they pause. Using their massive paws, they scrape away leaves or soft earth to expose the cooler soil beneath.
Sometimes they add moss or vegetation as a cushion, forming a quiet cradle just deep enough to fit their body. There they rest, half asleep, half aware, their ears twitching at the slightest sound. These daybeds are more than just sleeping spots. They're natural cooling stations. The earth below the surface stays several degrees cooler than the air, helping bears regulate body temperature during the hottest hours. Some even choose damp or shaded areas to enhance the effect. Cubs often curl beside their mothers in shared hollows, turning these resting sites into peaceful family refuges. Different bear species adapt this habit to their environment. Grizzlies in open plains prefer shaded ridges, while black bears in dense forests choose soft, mossy floors. No matter the region, the instinct remains the same: to find stillness in a landscape of motion. These shallow beds, hidden among roots and grass, capture a tender image of wildlife at rest. They remind us that even the most powerful creatures seek moments of quiet, where strength meets serenity, and the earth itself becomes a gentle bed.
Deep within the humid rainforests of Southeast Asia lives a bear that could easily be mistaken for a cub. The Malayan sun bear. Standing barely half a meter at the shoulder and weighing as little as 25 kilograms, it's the smallest of all bears, lighter than many household dogs. But this tiny frame hides an impressive collection of survival tools perfectly shaped for tropical life. Unlike its larger northern cousins, the sun bear doesn't need thick fur or layers of fat. Its coat is sleek and short, helping it stay cool under the equatorial heat. Around its neck, a golden crescent-shaped patch of fur gives the species its name, a mark that locals once believed represented the rising sun. What the sun bear lacks in size, it makes up for in agility. It's an expert climber, spending much of its life in trees where it sleeps, feeds, and avoids danger. Its claws are long and curved like hooks, gripping bark as it tears open termite nests or honeycombs. And then there's its tongue, nearly 25 centimeters long, perfect for licking up insects and nectar hidden in narrow crevices. Despite their small stature, sun bears are surprisingly strong and highly intelligent. They've been observed using objects as tools and even imitating facial expressions, rare among wild animals. Sadly, their shy, secretive lifestyle has made them one of the least studied bears on Earth, and habitat loss has pushed many toward extinction. The Malayan sun bear may be small, but in the vast orchestra of the animal kingdom, it plays a remarkable solo, proof that even the tiniest members of the bear family carry the same ancient power that defines their mighty relatives. At first glance, it seems natural to think of the polar bear as a land animal, a giant predator walking across vast white plains. Yet, scientifically, the polar bear is classified as a marine mammal, a title it shares with whales, seals, and dolphins. The reason lies in where it lives, hunts, and survives. Not on solid ground, but within the ever-shifting world of sea ice and water. Polar bears spend more than half their lives on ice that floats atop the Arctic Ocean. These frozen platforms are their hunting grounds, rest stops, and travel routes. Beneath them lies the true source of their food: seals.
A polar bear can wait motionless for hours beside a breathing hole in the ice, using its keen sense of smell to detect a seal rising for air. When the moment comes, it strikes with lightning speed, pulling its prey from the sea. Their bodies are sculpted for the ocean. Thick, water-repellent fur and a dense layer of fat keep them warm even when swimming through freezing waters. Their large paws act like paddles, allowing them to swim continuously for hours, sometimes more than 60 kilometers at a stretch. Even their nostrils close underwater to keep out icy spray. Because their entire lifestyle depends on the ocean's rhythm, the freeze and melt of sea ice, polar bears are officially considered marine mammals. It's a classification that highlights just how fragile their existence is. As the sea ice retreats each year, the polar bear's world literally melts beneath its feet. They are, in every sense, creatures of the water, rulers of a kingdom made of salt, ice, and silence.
If you were to step back a few million years and meet one of the early bears, you'd find a creature with a remarkably flexible menu. Fossil evidence shows that ancient bears were omnivores, opportunistic eaters that dined on whatever the land offered, from roots and berries to small animals. This adaptability helped them spread across continents and survive drastic climate changes. But over time, evolution pushed different bear species toward opposite ends of the dietary spectrum. In the frozen north, the polar bear found abundance in meat. As ice dominated the landscape and vegetation became scarce, only seals and marine prey could sustain life. Generation after generation, polar bears developed sharper teeth, longer bodies, and an acute sense of smell fine-tuned for hunting. Today, they are almost completely carnivorous, surviving almost exclusively on fat-rich seal meat, the fuel that powers them through the cold. Meanwhile, far away in the misty bamboo forests of China, another branch of the bear family took a completely different path. The giant panda evolved to eat almost nothing but bamboo, a plant low in nutrients but plentiful year-round. It developed a specialized wrist bone, a pseudo-thumb, that helps it grip bamboo stalks like chopsticks. Its powerful jaws and flat molars crush tough fibers all day long. What's remarkable is that both species, despite their extremes, still carry the digestive traces of their omnivorous ancestors. Pandas, for example, have the digestive system of a carnivore, but rely on plants. Evolution simply reshaped what already existed, not by redesigning the bear, but by fine-tuning its habits. From Arctic ice to mountain valleys, the bear's story is one of adaptation. One family, two diets, and millions of years of inventive survival. Long before grizzlies ruled the mountains, another bear dominated the Ice Age plains. A creature so massive it towered above any other predator of its time. This was Arctodus sinus, the short-faced bear, once the largest land carnivore in North America. Standing nearly 4 meters tall when upright and weighing over 1,000 kilograms, it was a walking symbol of prehistoric power. The short-faced bear lived during the Pleistocene epoch, roaming from Alaska to Mexico. Unlike today's bears that favor forests, Arctodus preferred open grasslands and tundra.
Its long legs and narrow body suggest it was built for speed, capable of running faster than modern bears. Its face was shorter and broader, giving it a powerful bite and an almost cat-like skull shape that inspired its name. But scientists still debate what kind of hunter it truly was. Some believe it chased down large prey like horses and bison, using its size to overpower victims. Others think it was more of a scavenger, relying on its intimidating presence to drive away other predators from their kills. With its towering height and keen sense of smell, Arctodus could have detected carcasses from kilometers away, claiming them with little resistance. When the Ice Age ended around 11,000 years ago, the short-faced bear vanished. Climate shifts reduced its prey, and competition with smaller, more adaptable carnivores, including early humans, may have sealed its fate. Today, only fossils remain, giant bones that tell of a bear that once stood higher than a human chest, even on all fours. The extinction of Arctodus simus marked the end of an era when predators were built not just to hunt, but to dominate entire landscapes.
When a bear walks, it does something that few other large predators do. It places its entire foot on the ground with every step. This way of walking is called plantigrade, the same method humans use. While dogs and cats walk on their toes for speed, bears plant their heels firmly, balancing their weight across the whole foot. It might look slower, but it's a remarkable design for strength and stability. This flat-footed stride gives bears their distinctive rolling gait, that steady swaying motion people often describe as lumbering. But don't be fooled by the calm pace. The plantigrade stance allows a bear to shift its center of gravity effortlessly, which helps it climb trees, dig through soil, or stand upright to reach fruit or look for danger. It's not built for sprinting long distances, but for bursts of incredible power and control. Each paw is a masterpiece of versatility. 5 strong toes, thick pads, and long claws create a perfect balance between traction and grip. On soft earth, bear tracks look strikingly human, broad, flat prints with visible toes and a distinct heel mark. Ancient people who found these tracks sometimes mistook them for signs of mythical forest beings because of that human-like shape. The plantigrade posture also helps when bears dig for roots or tear open logs. By keeping the heel down, they can put maximum force through their forelimbs, using the whole body in one motion. Even when standing, a bear's feet act as stable supports, allowing it to balance upright for long moments, scanning the forest or sniffing the wind. So while the bear may not win any sprinting races, its way of walking tells a deeper story. An animal built not for speed, but for mastery of its world. Every step deliberate, powerful, and sure. One of the lesser-known secrets behind a bear's agility lies in its feet, specifically how its hind paws can rotate slightly inward. This subtle twist might not sound extraordinary, but for an animal that can weigh hundreds of kilograms, it makes all the difference when climbing trees, scaling rocky cliffs, or descending steep forest slopes.
Unlike hoofed animals, which are locked into one direction, a bear's flexible ankle joint allows its hind feet to turn inward just enough to grip uneven ground. This means that when a bear climbs, it can press the soles of its feet directly against the surface, a secure hold that prevents slipping, even on smooth bark or loose soil. Black bears and sun bears, the most arboreal of the family, use this ability constantly, moving up tree trunks with a surprising grace that seems to defy their bulk. When descending, bears often turn around and climb backward, placing their heels against the surface for better control, much like a human using a ladder. The inward rotation also improves traction when crossing wet rocks, icy slopes, or narrow ridges, letting them distribute their weight more evenly. For species like the sloth bear in India or the spectacled bear in South America, this foot flexibility is a ticket to survival. It allows them to reach food sources other animals can't: honeycombs, fruit, or insects tucked high above the forest floor. Every time a bear moves through the wilderness, its feet quietly adapt to the terrain beneath it. Each twist, each precise placement reveals the careful engineering of evolution, transforming an animal of massive strength into one capable of climbing trees, balancing on cliffs, and walking confidently through the wild's most challenging landscapes. Every bear can swim, but none do it quite like the polar bear, nature's most extraordinary long-distance swimmer. While brown and black bears are content to paddle across rivers or lakes in summer, the polar bear takes to the open sea as easily as a dolphin. In fact, some have been tracked swimming more than 60 miles or nearly 100 kilometers without stopping. For an animal that can weigh half a ton, that's a feat of endurance almost unmatched in the mammal world. The reason lies in both necessity and design. Polar bears live in an oceanic world of drifting ice and open water, where seals, their primary prey, move with the tides. As sea ice melts and refreezes, a bear may find itself stranded far from solid ground. To survive, it swims from one floe to another, sometimes for days. Their massive front paws, each nearly the size of a dinner plate, act as powerful paddles, pushing through icy water with rhythmic strokes. Meanwhile, their back legs trail like rudders, steering each movement with quiet precision. A thick layer of fat, up to 10 centimeters deep, provides both buoyancy and insulation. Their nostrils close when submerged, and their fur, though not waterproof, traps air close to the skin to retain warmth. Yet this mastery of the sea comes at a cost. As Arctic ice diminishes each year, polar bears are forced to swim longer and longer distances, often with cubs in tow, to reach stable ice or hunting grounds. Many make it, some do not. Each polar bear that slips into the freezing waves carries the legacy of a species built to bridge two worlds, land and ocean, in one silent, enduring swim across the edge of survival. At a distance, a bear's coat looks like a single solid color, a uniform brown, black, or creamy white. But up close, under sunlight or magnification, the truth is far more intricate.
Each strand of bear fur is a tiny record of color and chemistry, often containing several bands of pigment along its length. These alternating shades, from pale amber to deep brown or even gray, blend together to create the illusion of one continuous tone. In brown bears, for example, a single hair may start dark near the root, fade to a golden hue midway, and then darken again at the tip. This subtle layering softens the bear's outline against forest shadows and mountain rock, a natural camouflage that helps them disappear into their surroundings. Black bears can show surprising color variations too, from coal black to cinnamon, blue-gray, and even white in rare subspecies like the Kermode or spirit bear. Polar bear fur is perhaps the most deceptive of all. Each hair is actually transparent, not white. The strands are hollow tubes that scatter and reflect light, giving the coat its snowy appearance. Under certain lighting, these hairs can even shimmer with faint yellow or silver tones, depending on diet and sunlight exposure. Beyond color, this banded structure also helps manage heat. Light sections reflect light, while darker bands absorb warmth, creating a subtle balance that protects the bear across seasons and regions. So when you see a bear gliding through the wilderness, remember, that coat is not a simple blanket of color. It's a living mosaic of shades, a masterpiece of natural design that blends function, camouflage, and quiet beauty. Proof that even in something as familiar as fur, evolution paints with extraordinary detail. Among all the fascinating details about bears, one stands out as both impressive and dangerous. Their livers contain massive amounts of vitamin A, so much, in fact, that it can be deadly to humans. This unusual trait is a direct result of the bear's Arctic lifestyle and diet. Vitamin A is stored in the liver, and it's vital for vision, growth, and immune function. But in extreme environments like the Arctic, animals such as polar bears and seals consume vast quantities of fatty prey rich in this vitamin. Over time, it accumulates in their bodies, particularly in the liver, where levels can reach hundreds of times what a human could safely handle. Early explorers learned this lesson the hard way. In the early 20th century, Arctic expeditions recorded cases of severe illness and even death after eating polar bear or sled dog liver. Symptoms appeared within hours: headaches, dizziness, nausea, peeling skin, and, in the worst cases, organ failure. Scientists later confirmed that the vitamin A concentration in a single bear liver could exceed 20,000 international units per gram, enough to poison several adults. For the bears themselves, however, it's no problem. Their bodies are adapted to store and process these fat-soluble vitamins without harm, a biological safeguard against the nutritional extremes of their environment. In the frozen north, where meals are unpredictable, retaining nutrients for long periods is a survival advantage. This toxic quirk of biology serves as a reminder that what sustains one creature may harm another.
The bear's liver, a powerhouse of nutrients forged for Arctic endurance, reveals how nature tailors each species precisely to its world, and why humans, despite all our curiosity, must sometimes admire such adaptations from a respectful distance. A bear's sense of smell is about 2,000 times more powerful than a human's, a supersense so refined that it defines nearly every decision the animal makes. Where we see a forest of colors and shapes, a bear smells a layered map of time, movement, and memory. Each breeze carries information: the faint trace of berries ripening miles away, the musk of another bear passing hours earlier, or the sharp scent of fish beneath river ice. Anatomically, the secret lies in their immense nasal cavities. Inside a bear's skull, the area devoted to smell is proportionally larger than that of any other land mammal. Packed with hundreds of millions of scent receptors, far more than even a bloodhound, their olfactory bulbs dominate the brain. This allows them to separate and identify odors with incredible accuracy, creating a detailed mental image of their surroundings through scent alone. Researchers have documented polar bears detecting seal dens buried under nearly a meter of snow and several centimeters of solid ice. Grizzlies in the Rocky Mountains have been known to follow the smell of carrion from over 20 miles away. Even a single piece of food sealed inside a car can attract a black bear that happens to wander downwind. Smell guides every part of a bear's life: hunting, foraging, mating, and even communication. When they sniff the air and pause, they are reading the invisible, sensing weather, direction, and the presence of others long before sight confirms it. To a bear, the world isn't quiet or still. It's alive with scent trails that weave through forest and sky like invisible stories. What we perceive in moments, they experience in layers, a vast sensory world painted entirely in smell. They can detect carrion from over 20 miles away, a feat that sounds almost supernatural until you understand how deeply scent shapes a bear's world. To them, the wind carries more than air; it carries information. A faint molecule drifting through the forest can tell a bear what died, how long ago, and in which direction the smell is coming from. This extraordinary ability is powered by a massive olfactory system. The area of a bear's brain devoted to smell is proportionally larger than that of any other land mammal. Inside its nose, hundreds of millions of receptors detect chemical traces that humans could never perceive. Even the subtle gases released during decomposition are enough to draw a bear across valleys, rivers, and ridges, guided only by invisible cues carried on the wind. In Alaska and northern Canada, brown bears are often seen traveling long distances toward the scent of a dead whale washed ashore. Polar bears, too, rely on this sense to locate seal carcasses buried beneath snow and ice, following the faintest odor through layers of frozen air. Black bears in forested regions can track the smell of deer or elk remains days after death, arriving long after other scavengers have left. This skill is more than opportunistic; it's essential. During lean seasons, when berries are gone and hunting is uncertain, carrion provides the fat and protein needed for survival. A bear that can find it first gains the upper hand in nature's constant race for calories. When you see a bear pause, lift its head, and sniff the wind, it's not simply breathing, it's reading, scanning an entire landscape for hidden signals, following the story of life and death written in the air long before our senses ever notice a thing.
Bears communicate through grunts, moans, huffs, and chuffing sounds, a subtle but expressive language that carries across forests and mountains. They are mostly solitary creatures. They are far from silent. Each sound has meaning, shaped by tone, rhythm, and situation, allowing them to express curiosity, comfort, warning, or irritation without ever needing words. A soft grunt might pass between a mother and her cubs, a reassuring signal that all is well. When cubs whimper or moan, it's often a call for attention or milk. Adults bear huff or snort when surprised, a short, sharp exhalation that warns others to keep their distance. During mating season, males emit deep moans or rhythmic chuffs to communicate dominance or intent, while females reply with gentler vocalizations to show acceptance or rejection. Even play has its own soundtrack. Young bears wrestling together produce low, breathy, chuffing sounds, puffs of air that seem to express enjoyment and trust. To an untrained ear, these noises might sound random, but to bears, they carry precise emotional cues. Communication doesn't end with sound. Ears, posture, and even facial expressions accompany their vocal language. A bear standing tall with head high signals authority, while one lowering its head and snorting conveys unease. This combination of gestures and tone creates a complex system of expression, more nuanced than many expect from such powerful animals. For creatures so often seen as silent giants, their voices tell another story, one of connection and emotion. Within those huffs and growls lies a conversation as ancient as the forests themselves, a dialogue of breath and instinct that binds mothers to cubs, rivals to boundaries, and wild hearts to the rhythm of their world.
Cubs use high-pitched cries that mothers can recognize instantly among dozens of cubs, a remarkable skill that turns sound into survival. In the dense forests or snowy dens where young bears are born, vision often matters less than voice. Each cub develops a distinct cry, a signature tone that its mother learns within days of birth. To human ears, the calls may sound similar, thin, squeaky, and pleading, but to a mother bear, her cub's voice is unmistakable. This vocal bond is vital. When cubs wander, tumble, or hide from danger, a single cry can summon her mother instantly. Researchers observing brown bears have seen females lift their heads from feeding the moment they hear their cub's specific pitch, even amid a chorus of others nearby. The sound triggers an immediate and instinctive response, protective, alert, and precise. For cubs, the cry isn't just a distress call. It's also a way to communicate needs, hunger, fear, or separation. The tone changes depending on urgency. A soft whimper signals comfort-seeking, while a sharp, rising squeal means alarm. Mothers respond differently to each, adjusting their pace and posture. This ability to recognize voices is a mark of both memory and emotional intelligence. It mirrors patterns found in elephants, dolphins, and primates, species known for strong family bonds. Among bears, it ensures that even in moments of confusion or danger, family connection remains unbroken. When the forest echoes with faint pleading notes, what seems like noise to us is actually a dialogue, one of trust and recognition. A mother bear doesn't need to see her young to know them. She hears their identity in every cry, a voice tied not just to survival, but to the deep, enduring instinct of care that defines her kind.
Bears have surprisingly expressive ears and lips that signal emotion and mood. For an animal often seen as stoic or unreadable, their faces tell far more than most people notice. With a subtle tilt of the head, a twitch of an ear, or the soft curl of their lips, bears communicate a range of feelings: curiosity, tension, comfort, or warning, without making a sound. When relaxed, a bear's ears sit upright and forward, framing a calm, almost gentle face. But when uncertain or alarmed, the ears angle outward or flatten slightly, much like a cat's, signaling caution. During moments of aggression, they press even closer to the skull, accompanied by tight lips and a lowered head, a universal sign of "stay back." In contrast, playful bears, especially cubs, hold their ears perked and their mouths loose, often with lips slightly parted as they wrestle or explore. Their lips, too, reveal emotion. A slight pout or stretch can show discomfort, while gentle lip-smacking often indicates contentment, a sound mothers make when nursing or soothing cubs. These small gestures, invisible to most observers, form part of an intricate visual language shared between bears. Such expressiveness helps maintain peace among individuals. When two bears meet, they read each other's posture, ears, and facial tension long before physical contact. These signals can prevent unnecessary fights, an energy-saving advantage in the wild. This quiet expressiveness offers a glimpse into the emotional depth of an animal too often defined by its strength alone. Behind the heavy fur and muscle lies sensitivity, a constant awareness of others' signals and feelings. Watch closely, and you'll see that a bear's face, like ours, speaks a full emotional language, one written not in words, but in the subtle movements of ears, eyes, and lips. They can identify individuals by scent, even years apart, a skill that turns the air itself into a memory bank. For bears, scent isn't fleeting, it's personal, durable, and specific. Each individual has a chemical signature, a unique blend of hormones, oils, and pheromones that acts like a name tag written in scent. And remarkably, bears remember these smells for years. When a bear encounters a scent trail on a tree or patch of earth, it pauses and inhales deeply, parsing the invisible story left behind. That scent tells who passed through, their age, their sex, and even their emotional state. In long-term studies, biologists have found that mother bears can recognize the scent of grown offspring years after separation. Likewise, males remember the scent of females from past breeding seasons, using those memories to find them again when conditions are right. This isn't just instinct, it's recall, the kind of cognitive memory that underpins social awareness. The mechanism behind it lies in their extraordinary sense of smell. A bear's nose can detect parts per trillion, meaning a faint trace of scent on a breeze can revive a memory long dormant. To a bear, the forest is a living archive. Every tree, rock, and path carries messages written in molecules that only they can read. When they stop to sniff the air, they aren't just learning about the present. They're remembering the past, recognizing old companions, rivals, and kin through the quiet language of scent that never truly fades. Brown bears mark territory with claw scratches at specific message trees, turning the forest into a living communication board. These trees, often tall pines or sturdy birches, are revisited year after year by the same bears, each leaving a personal signature etched into bark. To the human eye, the marks may look random, but to a bear, they tell a complex story of ownership, presence, and status. When a bear approaches one of these trees, it stands upright on its hind legs, stretching to its full height. Using the long claws of its forepaws, it rakes deep grooves into the trunk, sometimes adding a bite or a rub with its back or neck. The act deposits both scent and visual cues. The scratches display size and strength, while oils from the skin release unique chemical markers that other bears can smell long after the visitor has gone. Each tree becomes a hub of information, a place where bears silently read who has been in the area, how recently, and whether that individual was dominant or submissive. Males use these trees to warn rivals and attract potential mates, while females might leave traces of scent during breeding season. Wildlife researchers often monitor message trees with cameras, observing the careful ritual: sniffing, rubbing, clawing, then leaving in slow, deliberate steps. It's a routine repeated across continents, linking generations of bears to the same sentinel trees. Within these clawed trunks lies a quiet dialogue that spans years, a record of comings and goings written in wood and scent. To us, it's just bark torn open by claws. To the bears, it's history, territory, and identity combined, a forest archive where every mark speaks without sound. Some polar bears cover their noses with their paws when hunting, a quiet, instinctual gesture to stay hidden against the endless white. In a landscape where every shadow stands out, even a small patch of color can betray a predator's presence. The polar bear's fur is nearly invisible against snow and ice, but its nose, dark and distinct, can glint under Arctic light. By covering it, the bear blends completely into its surroundings, transforming into a silent extension of the frozen world. This behavior has been observed during still hunting, a method where a bear lies motionless near a seal's breathing hole, sometimes for hours.
It waits, body pressed to the ice, listening for the faint exhale of its prey beneath the surface. During that long wait, even the smallest movement could ruin the hunt. Some researchers have recorded bears keeping perfectly still, their paws lightly puffed over their snouts, an act of patience and awareness that borders on strategy. Whether learned or instinctive, this gesture reflects a sharp intelligence tuned by necessity. In the Arctic, survival depends on precision. The bear's pale fur, the texture of its paws, and the rhythm of its breathing all work in harmony to conceal it until the exact moment of the strike. For those who witness it, the sight is haunting, a creature of immense strength, practicing restraint, its power hidden beneath stillness. The paw over the nose isn't just camouflage, it's adaptation, perfected by generations of hunters who learned that silence, patience, and invisibility are the true weapons of the ice. In that frozen quiet, the polar bear waits, unseen, unhurried, and entirely at one with the endless white horizon.
Bears can hear in the ultrasonic range, high-frequency sounds far beyond what the human ear can detect. This remarkable ability allows them to sense the faintest movements under snow, soil, or fallen leaves. Where we hear only wind or silence, a bear perceives a hidden world of whispers, the rustle of a vole tunneling beneath the ground, the squeak of a mouse nesting under roots, or the flutter of insects moving through moss. Scientists studying brown and black bears have noted how often these animals pause mid-walk, tilt their heads, and suddenly begin digging. In many cases, they unearth rodents or insect colonies buried deep in the earth. Their hearing, tuned to ultrasonic frequencies, lets them locate prey that would be invisible to sight or smell alone. This sensory precision is especially valuable in spring, when snow still blankets the land and food is scarce. Compared to humans, whose upper hearing limit reaches about 20,000 hertz, bears can detect frequencies at least twice as high, similar to dogs and foxes, both species known for hunting small mammals. But unlike canines, bears combine this hearing with an acute sense of smell, creating a dual system of detection that works above and below ground. For polar bears, this ability extends to the icy plains, where the muffled breathing of a seal beneath snow can trigger a sudden strike. For grizzlies and black bears, it guides them to burrows, beehives, and insect nests hidden from sight. To a bear, silence is never empty. It's filled with layers of sound too subtle for us to perceive, the pulse of life beneath the surface. Every tilt of the head, every pause in their stride, reveals an ancient awareness of a world that speaks in frequencies only they can hear. Their eyesight is roughly equivalent to that of a human, but they see colors better than dogs do, a combination that gives bears an unexpected visual edge in the wild. Many people assume large carnivores rely mainly on smell, but bears balance all their senses, and their vision is far from weak. They can distinguish shapes,
movement, and distance with precision, whether scanning a distant hillside or watching a stream for the flicker of fish. Unlike dogs, which see the world mostly in shades of blue and yellow, bears possess cone cells in their eyes that allow them to perceive a wider range of colors, including greens and reds. This subtle difference means a bear can easily spot bright berries against green foliage, or notice the golden hue of ripe fruit from far away. In temperate forests, where food sources shift seasonally, that extra bit of color vision can determine whether a bear finds enough to eat before hibernation. Their eyes are positioned toward the front of the skull, granting binocular vision and depth perception, essential for judging distances while climbing, swimming, or hunting. In daylight, their vision rivals ours, but at dusk or dawn, it becomes even more effective. A reflective membrane behind the retina, called the tapetum lucidum, enhances night vision by amplifying available light, giving their eyes a subtle, ghostly glow in darkness. From bright alpine slopes to shadowed forests, this balanced eyesight helps bears navigate, forage, and survive. They don't just sense the world through smell or sound, they see it in color, clarity, and texture. Black bears eat up to 85% plants, a surprising fact for an animal classified as a carnivore. Their menu in the wild looks more like that of a foraging herbivore than a predator. Through most of the year, they roam forests and meadows in search of vegetation, spending long hours grazing on shoots, grasses, and roots. When berries ripen in late summer, they feast almost exclusively on fruit, sometimes eating tens of thousands of berries in a single day. This plant-rich diet is driven by efficiency. A black bear's massive appetite requires constant fuel, and plants, abundant and predictable, offer reliable energy. Nuts, acorns, and seeds provide high fat content that helps them build reserves for hibernation. Insects, grubs, or the occasional fish or carrion fill nutritional gaps, but meat is only a small supplement, not the foundation of their diet. Their digestive system, though built on a carnivore's blueprint, has evolved to handle fiber surprisingly well. Long intestines and diverse gut bacteria allow them to extract nutrients from tough plant matter. During spring, they feed on young grasses to restart their metabolism after hibernation. By autumn, they shift to calorie-rich foods like nuts and fruits, entering a phase of hyperphagia, near constant eating, to store fat for the winter sleep ahead. This flexible, mostly vegetarian approach is one reason black bears thrive in so many environments, from Canadian forests to southern swamps and mountain ranges. Wherever there's plant life, they can adapt. The image of a fierce meat-hunting bear fades quickly when you see one standing peacefully in a berry patch, paws stained purple from its meal. In truth, black bears are gardeners of the forest, spreading seeds, shaping ecosystems, and surviving not through predation, but through patient, mindful foraging. Grizzlies eat 40,000 calories a day before hibernation, the equivalent of what a human might consume in 3 weeks. As summer fades and autumn arrives, their world narrows to a single goal: eat as much as possible, as quickly as possible. This feeding frenzy, known as hyperphagia, is nature's final rehearsal before the long winter sleep. During this phase, grizzlies spend up to 20 hours a day foraging. Their diet becomes a mix of high-energy foods: salmon rich in fat, nuts dense with oils, and berries heavy with sugar. Along riverbanks in Alaska, they gorge on spawning salmon, sometimes catching dozens in a single day. In forests, they tear through logs for insects, dig up roots, and devour entire bushes of huckleberries. Every mouthful is converted into fat, stored beneath thick skin to sustain them through months of fasting. What's extraordinary is their body's efficiency. A grizzly can double its body weight in a single season, yet its organs remain healthy. No cholesterol buildup, no metabolic collapse. Their system shifts into storage mode, turning each calorie into vital insulation. By the time the first snows arrive, they've built a natural pantry inside their bodies, capable of fueling heartbeats, warmth, and even pregnancy through the winter. This period isn't gluttony, it's a survival strategy perfected by evolution. Each bite carries purpose, a response to the clock of the seasons. Once the world freezes and food disappears, they'll retreat to dens carved into earth or rock, relying entirely on those stored reserves. To watch a grizzly in late autumn is to witness the rhythm of life preparing for silence, a creature balancing abundance and scarcity, feasting not for pleasure, but for the endurance of an entire winter to come.
Polar bears can survive weeks without food by metabolizing fat reserves, a physiological marvel that keeps them alive in a land where meals are unpredictable. Life in the Arctic is ruled by cycles of plenty and scarcity, and polar bears have evolved to endure the long, empty stretches between hunts with extraordinary efficiency. When food is scarce, especially during the summer months when sea ice melts and seals are harder to reach, a polar bear's body begins to draw energy from its own fat. These reserves, built up during successful hunting seasons, are slowly converted into fuel. A single layer of fat, sometimes more than 10 centimeters thick, acts as both insulation and an energy bank. Their metabolism shifts dramatically during these fasting periods. The bear's heart rate slows, and its body temperature drops slightly to reduce energy use. Muscle tissue is preserved, while fat is broken down steadily, providing calories without the harmful side effects that fasting would cause in most animals. Remarkably, even pregnant females can go for months without eating, entering maternity dens in autumn and surviving entirely on stored energy until spring, when they emerge with newborn cubs. This ability isn't just a biological trick, it's an adaptation to an environment of extremes. The Arctic offers brief moments of abundance, followed by long silence,
And the polar bear's survival depends on turning that rhythm into strategy. Every pound of fat represents the memory of a past hunt. A seal caught months earlier, now sustaining the bear through storm and hunger. In the vast white expanse, where patience determines life, this quiet endurance defines the species. Strength not in constant action, but in the power to wait, adapt, and endure when the world turns still. Panda bears' bamboo diet gives them little energy, so they move slowly to conserve it. Every aspect of their life, from the pace of their walk to the calm rhythm of their feeding, is shaped by this humble plant. Bamboo, though abundant, is a poor source of nutrition. It's fibrous, low in fat and protein, and takes immense effort to digest. Yet pandas depend on it completely, consuming nearly 40 kilograms each day just to meet their basic needs. Inside, their bodies tell a curious story. Pandas still possess the digestive system of a carnivore, short intestines and simple stomachs designed for meat, not tough vegetation. To cope, they've developed powerful jaws, flat molars for crushing, and an extended wrist bone that acts like a thumb, helping them grasp and strip bamboo stalks with precision. Still, most of the nutrients pass through undigested, forcing them to eat almost constantly. Because bamboo provides so little energy, pandas conserve what they can. They rarely run or climb far, preferring to rest between meals and move with unhurried grace. Their hearts beat slower than most mammals their size, and their body temperature stays slightly lower, another small adjustment to stretch limited calories. This slow, deliberate existence isn't laziness, it's efficiency, refined by evolution. In the misty forests of China, where bamboo grows endlessly, pandas have learned to trade speed for stability. Their survival depends not on aggression or endurance, but on calm consistency. An animal that thrives by doing less perfectly. Every quiet step through the bamboo groves reflects that wisdom. In a world built on competition, the panda endures through stillness, proof that survival isn't always about strength or speed, but about finding peace with what the land provides. Sun bears tear open termite nests with long claws and use tongues up to 25 centimeters long, an extraordinary feeding technique shaped by life in the dense tropical forests of Southeast Asia. Among all bears, they are the smallest, yet their strength and dexterity rival that of much larger species. When food hides behind layers of bark, soil, or wood, the sun bear's forelimbs become precision tools. Their claws, long and sharply curved, are designed for digging and ripping. With a few powerful swipes, they can open a termite mound or decaying tree trunk, exposing the insects within. Then their slender, extendable tongue, coated with sticky saliva, snakes into the nest, gathering hundreds of termites, ants, or honey droplets in one smooth motion. The entire feeding process is quiet, efficient, and perfectly adapted to a forest where small, hidden meals sustain life. The tongue's remarkable length, nearly the size of their entire muzzle, isn't just for termites. Sun bears also use it to extract honey from deep hives, earning them the local nickname brown madhu, or honey bear. Their sense of smell guides them to hidden hives high in trees, and they'll climb agilely, sometimes leaving claw marks dozens of meters above the ground. This specialized diet keeps them active throughout the humid nights and early mornings when insect activity peaks. In a world of abundance and decay, they serve an important role, breaking open dead wood, aerating the soil, and helping seeds take root. Every motion, from claw to tongue, shows the sun bear's place in nature's intricate design. A small, quiet creature with the precision of an engineer, transforming the hidden richness of the rainforest into survival, one careful, deliberate meal at a time.
Sloth bears eat mostly insects and use lips that form a perfect vacuum seal for sucking, a feeding strategy unlike any other bear on Earth. In the forests and grasslands of India, Sri Lanka, and Nepal, these shaggy nocturnal bears spend their nights searching for termite mounds and ant colonies. With claws long and curved like pickaxes, they tear open hardened nests, lower their snouts to the opening, and inhale with astonishing force. Their mouths are built for this task. Sloth bears can close their nostrils completely to keep out dust and debris, while their lips stretch far forward to create an airtight seal. In a single breath, they produce a loud, vacuum-like sound, strong enough to pull thousands of tiny insects into their mouths. The noise carries through the forest, often startling those who hear it for the first time. Unlike other bears, they've lost most of their upper incisors, a small sacrifice that allows better suction. Once the insects are inside, their long, flexible tongues sweep them down with practiced precision. They can strip a termite mound clean in minutes, leaving behind only broken clay and silence. This diet, though humble, fuels a powerful and resilient animal. Termites and ants are rich in protein, and by consuming them, sloth bears help control insect populations and recycle nutrients through the ecosystem. They also lick up fallen fruit and honey, showing that even specialists keep a varied palate when opportunity arises. In a family known for strength and bulk, the sloth bear stands out for finesse, an insect-eating engineer of the tropics. Every slurp and sniff reflects adaptation at its finest, a bear that survives not by force, but by mastering the art of precision in a world full of small, hidden meals. Spectacled bears are one of the few tropical bears and feed heavily on fruit and bromeliads, a lifestyle far removed from the icy hunts or alpine foraging of their northern relatives. Found in the misty cloud forests of the Andes Mountains, from Venezuela to Bolivia, these bears thrive in an environment where humidity hangs like fog and every tree drips with life. Their name comes from the pale markings that circle their eyes and muzzle, giving the impression of spectacles. Each bear's pattern is unique, like a fingerprint. But it's their diet, not their appearance, that truly sets them apart. Spectacled bears are primarily herbivorous, eating a wide variety of fruits, berries, palm nuts, cactus, and especially bromeliads,
the hardy, water-holding plants that grow high in the forest canopy. Climbing is their greatest skill. Despite their size, they move nimbly through trees, tearing down bromeliads or breaking branches heavy with fruit. With powerful limbs and long claws, they can support their full weight on high branches, even building makeshift platforms from broken limbs where they rest or feed for hours. In these treetop havens, they often remain unseen, living quietly above the jungle floor. Their fruit-heavy diet plays an essential role in the ecosystem. As they travel, they disperse seeds through their droppings, helping regenerate forest growth across vast distances. In this way, the spectacled bear acts as both gardener and guardian of the Andes. Though shy and seldom seen, their presence ripples through the mountain forests, shaping vegetation, feeding other species, and maintaining balance in the tropical highlands. In every bromeliad stripped open and every fruit tree visited, the spectacled bear leaves behind more than signs of feeding. It leaves the promise of renewal.
Bears often roll in certain plants believed to repel insects, a fascinating behavior that shows their instinctive understanding of the natural world. When mosquitoes, ticks, and flies swarm thick during warm months, bears don't just tolerate the irritation, they take action. In forests across North America and Europe, they've been seen rubbing against aromatic herbs, crushing the leaves into their fur until their coats glisten with sap and scent. Researchers have documented grizzlies and black bears deliberately seeking out plants like cow parsnip, Indian balsam, and sweet cicely, species known to contain natural insect-repelling oils. The bears bite, chew, and mash the stems, then twist their bodies into the vegetation, coating themselves in the mixture. In some cases, they even return to the same plant patches year after year, as if remembering their effectiveness. This behavior, called self-anointing, goes beyond simple comfort. The oils may reduce irritation from bites or even act as mild antiseptics, helping heal small wounds and protect against infection. It's a remarkable example of what scientists call zoopharmacognosis, animals using natural substances for health benefits. Other species, from elephants to birds, do it too. But in bears, it highlights both intelligence and experience. For a creature without tools or medicine, rolling in plants is nature's version of a spa treatment, equal parts instinct and innovation. Cubs often learn the behavior by watching their mothers, suggesting it's partly cultural, passed down through generations. In the quiet of summer meadows, a bear pressing itself into crushed herbs is more than a playful sight. It's a moment of wild wisdom. Guided by scent and memory, it turns the forest's chemistry into protection, proving that even the fiercest animals know how to heal gently, using the land itself as medicine. Some bears eat clay after consuming toxic plants, a detoxifying behavior that reveals both instinct and intelligence. In the wild, food is rarely perfect or predictable. A bear foraging in spring might dig up roots, shoots, or bulbs that contain better alkaloids or mild toxins. When that happens, many have been observed walking to patches of exposed soil or riverbanks and eating small amounts of clay-rich earth immediately afterward. The reason lies in chemistry. Clay minerals have a natural ability to bind with toxins and heavy metals inside the digestive tract, neutralizing their effects before they can be absorbed into the bloodstream. This simple act effectively transforms earth into medicine, a natural antidote crafted by the landscape itself. Scientists call this geophagia, or earth-eating, and it's been documented not only in bears, but also in elephants, parrots, and primates. For bears, the behavior seems purposeful. Observations in Alaska and parts of Russia show that they return to specific clay deposits, sometimes digging into the soil to reach fresher, more mineral-rich layers. Cubs often copy adults, learning where to find these sites and when to use them, suggesting that it's not random curiosity, but learned behavior passed through generations. Clay eating may also aid digestion by soothing the stomach after rough or fibrous meals, especially in spring, when new plant growth is abundant but not always gentle on the system. In an ecosystem where every meal carries risk, this quiet act of self-care shows the bear's remarkable adaptability. Without laboratories or formulas, it uses the world around it to balance its body, proof that even in the wilderness, health and healing are guided by instinct as much as strength. They can digest both plant cellulose and animal protein effectively, a rare ability among omnivores. Most animals are specialized, herbivores built to break down fibrous plants, or carnivores fine-tuned for meat. Bears stand between these worlds, their bodies blending the traits of both with remarkable success. Inside a bear's gut, biology balances two opposing needs. Their stomach produces strong acids capable of dissolving meat and bone, while their intestines, long and complex, give time for plant material to ferment and release nutrients. Specialized gut bacteria handle the rest, breaking down cellulose from leaves, grasses, and fruit skins that most carnivores would simply pass through undigested. This partnership between body and microbes allows a bear to thrive on whatever the season offers. In early spring, protein dominates the diet. Fish, carrion, and newborn prey rich in fat and energy. By midsummer, berries, nuts, and roots take over, providing fiber and carbohydrates for steady weight gain. Come autumn, when the urgency of hibernation builds, bears eat everything they can find, switching effortlessly between salmon and acorns, grubs, and grasses. Very few omnivores possess such digestive flexibility. Humans and pigs come close, but even they rely on cooking or processing to access many nutrients that bears handle naturally. Evolution has shaped their system into one of efficiency and endurance, a living engine that can run on nearly any fuel the wilderness provides. This versatility explains how bears inhabit so many environments, from Arctic ice to tropical rainforest.
Their stomachs are as adaptable as their minds, turning scarcity into opportunity. Whether tearing into a carcass or grazing on blueberries, a bear demonstrates a quiet mastery of survival, the ability to draw strength from every corner of the natural world.
During hibernation, a bear's heart rate drops from about 55 to just 9 beats per minute, a transformation that turns a creature of immense power into a model of stillness. Inside the dark, quiet den of winter, a body weighing hundreds of kilograms enters one of nature's most precise energy-saving states. The heart, once thundering from exertion, now beats so slowly that minutes can pass between pulses, yet every cell continues to function perfectly. This dramatic slowdown is part of a broader metabolic shift. As temperatures drop and food disappears, the bear's body lowers its oxygen use and suppresses organ activity. The lungs draw in fewer breaths, the liver pauses much of its work, and the brain settles into a rhythm of near silence. Core temperature dips only slightly, enough to conserve energy, but not enough to freeze, while stored fat fuels every process, keeping the body alive without eating, drinking, or even urinating for months. What makes this feat extraordinary is the bear's resilience. Unlike smaller hibernators which enter true torpor and risk death if disturbed, bears remain semi-alert. A mother can give birth and nurse her cubs mid-hibernation, her heart still beating in slow, steady rhythm. When spring approaches, the heartbeat quickens, metabolism restarts, and the bear awakens as if nothing happened. Scientists study this natural slowdown for clues that could transform human medicine, imagining ways to protect the heart during surgery or preserve astronauts on long space missions. In that deep winter silence, the bear becomes a symbol of biological perfection, strength transformed into patience, motion into endurance. Beneath the snow, its quiet heart beats softly, keeping time with the sleeping earth itself. They can go 100 days or more without eating, drinking, urinating, or defecating, a biological feat that defies everything we know about survival. During hibernation, when the world outside freezes and food vanishes, bears retreat into their dens and enter a self-contained state of balance. Inside, every system slows, recalibrating to live entirely off stored energy. The fat reserves, built through months of foraging, now become their lifeline. Each gram of fat releases water and calories as it breaks down, meaning the bear doesn't need to drink or eat. What's truly extraordinary, though, is how efficiently their bodies handle waste. Normally, the breakdown of proteins and fats produces urea, a toxic compound that must be excreted. Bears, however, recycle it. Through a unique metabolic process, they convert urea back into proteins, preserving muscle mass and preventing poisoning. It's a kind of internal recycling plant that runs perfectly for months without pause. Even after lying nearly motionless for an entire season, bears emerge strong, not weakened. Their muscles remain firm, their bones intact,
and their organs unharmed. Humans confined to bed rest for weeks would suffer severe atrophy, but bears have evolved ways to keep tissue healthy despite total inactivity. Pregnant females take this even farther, giving birth, nursing, and sustaining cubs without once leaving the den. Every heartbeat, every breath is measured for efficiency, turning stillness into survival. Scientists continue to study this phenomenon, hoping it might one day inspire medical breakthroughs for humans, ways to prevent muscle loss, kidney failure, or dehydration. In the frozen dark of winter, a bear's body becomes a masterpiece of conservation, a living equation that proves survival isn't always about movement or strength, but about the art of using nothing and wasting nothing. Bears recycle urea from their urine back into proteins, preventing muscle loss during the long months of hibernation. In nearly every other mammal, urea is a waste product, expelled because it contains nitrogen that, if left to accumulate, becomes toxic. But for a hibernating bear, nothing can afford to be wasted, not even waste itself. As the bear sleeps through winter, its metabolism slows to a whisper. The body still breaks down fat for energy, but it carefully preserves protein. Normally, inactivity would cause muscles to shrink and weaken, yet bears emerge from their dens in spring nearly as strong as when they entered. The secret lies in their ability to convert urea into new amino acids, effectively turning nitrogen waste back into usable building blocks for tissue. Inside their bodies, symbiotic gut bacteria play a crucial role, helping transform the compounds safely. This process not only prevents muscle atrophy, but also protects internal organs, keeping them functional throughout hibernation. It's a biochemical recycling system so efficient that it has caught the attention of scientists studying human health. If humans could mimic this natural mechanism, it might revolutionize medicine, helping astronauts preserve muscle in space, aiding patients confined to bed, or preventing the muscle loss that comes with aging. In the bear, evolution solved this puzzle long ago, crafting a metabolism that sustains strength in perfect stillness. When the snow melts and the bear steps out of its den, stretching muscles that haven't moved in months, it does so without stiffness or weakness. Every cell has been maintained, every resource reused. It's a quiet miracle of biology, a reminder that even in sleep, life can be profoundly efficient, guided by the silent genius of nature's design. Pregnant females give birth during hibernation, while semi-asleep, a moment of life unfolding in near silence beneath the snow. Deep inside a winter den, where temperatures outside may fall far below freezing, a mother bear lies curled in a state between sleep and waking. Her heartbeat has slowed. Her body runs on stored fat. And yet, within that stillness, something extraordinary happens. She gives birth. Bear cubs arrive in midwinter, usually between January and February. Each is impossibly small, often weighing less than half a kilogram, about the size of a squirrel. Born blind, hairless, and completely dependent, they wriggle toward their mother's warmth, guided only by touch and instinct. The mother, though in a state of torpor, rouses just enough to lick them clean and guide them to her nipples. For the next 2 to 3 months, she nurses them entirely from the energy stored in her own fat. She doesn't eat, drink, or move far within the den. Yet her body produces rich milk that can exceed 30% fat, one of the most nutrient-dense milks in the animal kingdom. During this time, she slips in and out of light sleep, occasionally adjusting her cubs, responding to their squeaks and movements, even in her drowsiest state. By the time spring sunlight begins to warm the entrance of the den, the cubs have grown plump, their eyes have opened, and a soft layer of fur now covers them. The mother awakens fully, lean but strong, and leads them into the world beyond the snow. Few scenes in nature are as quietly powerful. Life beginning in the deep stillness of winter, sustained by nothing but a mother's patience, her stored strength, and the gentle rhythm of her half-dreaming heart.
Cubs nurse and grow while their mothers remain in a low metabolic state, a delicate biological balancing act that takes place entirely within the dark, breathless stillness of the den. As winter deepens and the world above lies silent under snow, a mother bear rests in semi-hibernation, her heart slowed, her body temperature lowered, and yet her body continues one vital process, nurturing life. Her cubs, born blind and helpless, spend their first months pressed against her belly, feeding on milk that she produces without eating or drinking. The milk is incredibly rich, thick, warm, and dense with fat and protein. Each drop is made from the mother's own stored energy, drawn from the reserves she built during the abundant months of summer and fall. Despite consuming nothing, she transforms that fat into nourishment strong enough to double or triple the cub's weight before spring. All of this happens while her metabolism operates at a fraction of its normal pace. The bear's body carefully balances energy use, conserving enough for herself while providing enough for her offspring. Her breathing remains slow, her movements minimal, but she responds instantly to the cub's small sounds and nudges, shifting gently to keep them warm. Within the safety of that hidden den, time passes differently. Snow accumulates above, storms come and go, but inside, quiet growth continues. When the first light of spring melts the upper layers of snow, the cubs emerge healthy and alert, the product of months of silent devotion. It's a remarkable example of life sustained through stillness. While the mother sleeps in half-dream, her body continues to give, turning stored sunlight, the energy of past seasons, into milk, warmth, and the first fragile breath of a new generation.
Black bears can awaken instantly from hibernation if threatened, a reminder that even in their deepest rest, awareness never truly disappears. Unlike smaller animals that enter a full, unresponsive sleep, bears experience a state known as torpor, a lighter, adjustable form of hibernation. Their heartbeat slows, their temperature drops slightly, but their senses never completely shut down. A faint sound, a vibration in the ground, or the scent of danger is enough to stir them awake within seconds. This ability is a vital survival mechanism. Winter dens offer protection from cold, but they're not invulnerable. Rock slides, predators, or human disturbances can all occur, and a bear must be able to react quickly. Researchers who have approached dens in the wild often report that even a whisper or twig snap is enough to make the bear lift its head or shift position, its instincts immediately alert. If the threat persists, a bear can rise, fully awake and ready to defend itself or its cubs, despite having been dormant for weeks. Within moments, heart rate and breathing accelerate, muscles respond, and the animal regains full control, an astonishing biological feat for a body that has been nearly motionless. Once the disturbance passes, the bear can lower its metabolism again and slip back into hibernation as if nothing happened. This reversible balance between stillness and readiness allows them to survive in a world where danger doesn't wait for spring. It's a perfect example of nature's precision, a creature that can rest deeply enough to endure months of scarcity, yet remain vigilant enough to wake when the forest calls. Even in winter silence, the black bear keeps one part of itself awake, a guardian of instinct, always listening through the snow.
The body temperature of hibernating bears only drops slightly, unlike smaller hibernators, whose bodies cool almost to the point of freezing. While chipmunks or bats may let their core temperature fall close to the surrounding air, a bear maintains warmth, lowering from around 37 degrees Celsius to about 31 degrees Celsius. It may not sound dramatic, but that small difference changes everything. This mild reduction allows the bear to conserve enormous amounts of energy while still keeping its body functional. Heart rate and breathing slow to a fraction of normal speed, yet blood continues to circulate steadily, and organs remain active enough to prevent damage. The brain stays alert enough to monitor sounds and shifts in temperature, ready to signal awakening at the first hint of danger or spring thaw. Smaller animals that hibernate deeply often enter true torpor, their temperatures plummeting so low that waking can take hours. A bear, however, can rouse within moments. This is essential for survival. A sudden noise, an intruder, or the stirrings of newborn cubs can all prompt immediate action. The bear's metabolism, though slowed, remains flexible, capable of reigniting full activity without strain. This precision reflects millions of years of adaptation to cold environments, where energy must be conserved, but safety cannot be ignored. The bear's body achieves balance, just cold enough to save energy, just warm enough to remain alive and aware. When spring sunlight returns and the snow begins to soften, that slight warmth within the den is what awakens life again. The bear rises, stretches, and steps back into the world, proof that even through the deepest winter, it was never truly asleep, only waiting in perfect, measured stillness. Bears don't actually sleep all winter in one stretch. They shift and occasionally wake,
living through a cycle of rest rather than unbroken slumber. Inside their dens, beneath snow or soil, they lie in a state known as torpor, a kind of suspended calm where heart rate, breathing, and metabolism drop dramatically, but not completely. It's more like drifting in a dream than falling into full oblivion. Throughout the winter, a hibernating bear may stir several times. It might roll onto its other side, stretch its legs, or nuzzle a cub closer for warmth. Some even sit up briefly or lick melting frost from their fur before settling back into stillness. Each movement is slow and deliberate, a small adjustment to maintain comfort and circulation during months of confinement. This light sleeping pattern serves an important purpose. By staying semi-conscious, the bear can respond to changes in its environment, a temperature drop, a shift in den structure, or the faint sounds of predators or melting snow. It's a balance between preservation and awareness, conserving energy while never surrendering vigilance. Female bears, especially mothers, wake more often. They nurse, clean, and rearrange their cubs in the den, all while their own bodies remain in low-energy mode. Males and solitary females may rouse less frequently, but still show signs of periodic alertness, often aligning their internal rhythms with the faint lengthening of daylight as spring nears. When the thaw begins, that gentle awareness turns to readiness. The bear's body slowly warms, its metabolism accelerates, and it rises, lean, strong, and instinctively attuned to the new season. Even in winter's deepest silence, the bear is never fully asleep. It's simply waiting, breathing softly with the rhythm of the earth. After hibernation, they emerge hungry, but still lethargic, moving slowly for several days. The world outside their dens is cold and damp and unfamiliar after months of stillness. Snow still lingers in shaded valleys. The air carries the scent of thawing earth, and the bear, lean and weary, steps into the light of early spring, like a traveler returning from a long, heavy dream. Their bodies are functional, but sluggish. Muscles that haven't been used in months stretch cautiously. Digestion restarts gradually. For the first few days, bears eat little, focusing instead on movement and water. They lick snow, drink from streams, and wander short distances to reacquaint themselves with their territory. Hunger is intense, but their metabolism takes time to catch up. Eating too quickly after such a long fast could overwhelm their system. Instead, they graze lightly, nibbling grass shoots or licking at roots, small, easy foods that awaken the stomach. Gradually, as days pass and warmth returns, their strength builds. Once energy levels stabilize, true foraging begins. Scavenging winter carcasses, digging for bulbs, or seeking out the first signs of berries and insects. This slow awakening is not weakness, it's precision. The bear's body knows to pace itself, to move carefully as it transitions from the deep rhythm of hibernation back to the living pulse of spring. Every stretch, every deliberate step is part of that recalibration. By late spring, the transformation is complete. The once languid bear is powerful again, its senses sharp, its hunger now driving it through forests and rivers in search of renewal. What began in stillness ends in motion, a quiet reminder that in nature, even rest serves the purpose of strength.
Not all bears hibernate. Tropical bears usually don't. The image of a bear sleeping through winter is so common that it's easy to forget it doesn't apply everywhere. Hibernation is a survival strategy, not a fixed rule. It occurs where winters are long and food disappears, but in the tropics, the forest never stops providing. In northern latitudes, species like grizzlies, black bears, and brown bears enter deep winter dens when snow seals the land and prey becomes scarce. Their bodies slow to an astonishing degree, heart rates dropping to single digits, metabolism idling just enough to stay alive. For months, they eat nothing, drink nothing, and survive entirely on fat stored during the plentiful seasons. But near the equator, life follows a different rhythm. Sun bears in Southeast Asia and sloth bears in India experience no true winter. Food, whether fruit, insects, or honey, remains available throughout the year. Instead of hibernating, they rest more during hot, dry periods and stay active during cooler, wetter months. Their bodies never need to shut down completely because the environment doesn't demand it. Even among temperate bears, flexibility rules. Some individuals hibernate only partially or for shorter periods, depending on local weather and food availability. In milder winters, they may wake to forage, returning to sleep when conditions worsen, a reminder that bear behavior adjusts with the landscape. This range of adaptation is part of what makes the bear family so successful. From snowy tundra to humid rainforest, each species has shaped its habits to match its world. Whether sleeping through blizzards or prowling beneath monsoon rain, bears embody a rare mastery of balance, resting when nature rests and living fully when the land stays alive.
Bears practice delayed implantation, a reproductive strategy where fertilized eggs pause development until conditions are right. It's one of the most elegant adaptations in the animal kingdom, allowing bears to align birth with the seasons and their own physical readiness. Mating takes place in late spring or early summer, but after fertilization, the embryo doesn't immediately attach to the uterine wall as it does in most mammals. Instead, it remains dormant, a tiny cluster of cells floating in suspension, waiting. For several months, nothing happens. Only when autumn approaches and the female has built enough fat reserves through summer feeding does her body decide whether to proceed. If she's healthy and has stored enough energy to survive the winter and nurse cubs, the embryo implants in the uterus and begins to grow. If not, the process simply halts. No pregnancy follows, conserving her strength for another year. This self-regulating mechanism ensures that a bear never gives birth when she cannot support her young. Implantation usually occurs in late fall, just before the mother enters hibernation.
By the time she's settled in her den, the tiny embryo is developing slowly, timed perfectly for birth in midwinter. When the cubs are born, they'll arrive into the warmth of her den, nourished by milk made from the fat she stored months before. Delayed implantation allows reproduction to sync seamlessly with survival. It's a biological negotiation between opportunity and capacity, a reminder that in the wild, timing is everything. Through this hidden rhythm, bears demonstrate an extraordinary awareness built into their biology, a quiet intelligence that lets life wait for the perfect moment to begin.
Cubs are born hairless, blind, and weighing less than a soda can. Fragile lives entering the world in the dead of winter, deep inside a snow-covered den. Their arrival is almost silent, unnoticed by the frozen wilderness outside. A newborn bear cub is one of nature's most delicate creatures, pink-skinned, nearly weightless, unable to see or walk, and yet carrying the potential to become a creature of immense strength. At birth, a cub weighs only about 300 to 400 grams, less than half a kilogram. Its fur hasn't grown in, its eyes are sealed shut, and its movements are little more than small wriggles toward warmth. The mother, though still in a state of hibernation-like torpor, awakens just enough to clean and guide the cubs to nurse. Her body, sustained entirely on stored fat, produces milk rich in fat and protein, far denser than human or cow milk, giving the cubs everything they need to grow, without her leaving the den. In that enclosed darkness, warmth and sound are their world. The cubs press against her belly, their tiny hearts beating twice as fast as hers. Weeks pass in silence as they grow stronger, their fur thickening, their eyes opening to the dim light filtering through the den's entrance. By early spring, they may weigh nearly 5 kilograms, 100 times their birth weight. When the snow begins to melt and their mother finally rises, she leads them out into a bright, unfamiliar world. From creatures no heavier than a can of soda to confident climbers and foragers within months, bear cubs embody the quiet resilience of life. Their story begins not with a roar, but with a whisper, a fragile heartbeat echoing beneath the winter snow.
Mother bears nurse their cubs for up to 2 years, a long, patient commitment that shapes the foundation of their survival. From the moment they are born in the stillness of a winter den to their first cautious steps into spring, the mother's milk provides everything they need to grow, stay warm, and learn the rhythms of the world. Bear milk is among the richest in the animal kingdom. Thick and creamy, it can contain up to 30% fat, turning the mother's stored energy into concentrated nourishment. In the early months, cubs rely on it entirely, nursing often as they huddle for warmth. The act of feeding is more than sustenance. It is comfort, communication, and reassurance. Each sound and movement reinforces the bond between mother and offspring. As the seasons change, the cubs begin exploring the outside world, nibbling on berries, grasses, and insects. But even as they learn to forage, they return to nurse, especially when frightened or tired. The milk gradually becomes less frequent, but remains a vital source of energy during their second year.
By this time, the cubs are playful and curious, but never far from their mother's side, learning where to find food, how to climb safely, and when to stand still and listen. This extended nursing period is rare among large mammals and speaks to the bear's strategy for raising resilient young. The slow pace allows cubs to grow strong before facing independence. When they finally part ways, the lessons and nourishment she gave continue to sustain them. In every patient moment of nursing, a mother bear passes on more than milk. She transfers endurance, instinct, and the quiet trust that carries her cubs into the wild world ahead.
Male bears sometimes kill unrelated cubs to bring females back into estrus, a behavior that may seem cruel but follows an ancient biological logic. In the wild, reproduction is governed not by emotion, but by timing and opportunity. A female bear nursing young will not mate again until her cubs are weaned, often taking 2 or more years. For a roaming male, that wait is too long. By eliminating the cubs, he ends her current maternal cycle, and within weeks she becomes fertile once more. This phenomenon, known as infanticide, has been observed in brown, black, and polar bears. It occurs most often during summer, when bears are active and breeding. Males don't distinguish cubs by aggression or malice. They simply act on instinctual drives to pass on their genes. In nature's cold arithmetic, it increases the likelihood that their offspring will survive into the next generation. For mothers, this threat is ever present and shapes much of their behavior. Females with cubs avoid adult males whenever possible, moving through forests and mountains in silence, choosing routes that keep them hidden. If confronted, a mother bear transforms from a calm, gentle guardian into one of the most formidable defenders in the animal kingdom. She will charge, roar, and fight without hesitation, often at great risk to herself. Though difficult to witness, such behavior underscores nature's balance between survival and sacrifice. What seems brutal through human eyes is, in the wilderness, an evolutionary strategy, one that ensures strength, adaptability, and renewal over generations. Amid these cycles of loss and protection, the story of the bear continues, one of power, endurance, and the fierce, unbroken will to carry life forward, even in a world where every victory has a cost. Mother bears use gentle huffs to call cubs, and sharp woofs as warnings. A simply yet sophisticated language of sound that guides young bears through their earliest lessons in survival. For a mother, communication is constant. She speaks not with words, but with breath, tone, and rhythm. Sounds that carry comfort, caution, or urgency, depending on what the forest demands. The huff is her soft call, a quiet exhalation through the nose or mouth that signals reassurance. Cubs recognize it instantly, even from a distance. It means, "I'm here, come closer," or "all is well." In the hush of a meadow or beneath the cover of trees, that gentle sound anchors them to safety. Cubs respond with small grunts or whines, staying close as they forage or explore. The woof, by contrast, is sharp and commanding.
It cuts through the air like a verbal fence. When danger stirs, a predator nearby, a human scent, or even an unfamiliar noise, the mother emits a deep percussive bark. Cubs freeze on instinct, knowing that silence and stillness are their best defense. This one syllable can mean the difference between safety and discovery. These vocal cues form the backbone of family coordination in bear society. Alongside body posture and scent, they create a full sensory language that cubs begin to understand from their first days outside the den. Over time, the young learn not only the meanings, but the emotions behind each sound, the difference between caution and comfort, command and care. To listen to a mother bear with her cubs is to hear instinct turned into melody, soft breaths for love, deep woofs for protection. It's communication stripped to its purest form, sound shaped by devotion, passed down through generations of quiet guardians. Cubs often imitate adult behaviors like scratching trees and catching fish, a natural form of learning that turns curiosity into survival. In the wild, bear mothers don't teach their young in the way humans do. Instead, they lead by example. Cubs watch, study, and mirror every movement, transforming observation into instinct. When a mother stands upright and scratches a tree, her cubs quickly follow, stretching on their hind legs and dragging their small claws across the bark. At first, it's clumsy play, but over time it becomes practice, the beginnings of scent marking, balance training, and muscle development. The same happens when foraging. Cubs mimic their mothers pawing at soil, digging for roots, or turning over rocks in search of insects. Each act builds strength and coordination while teaching them where food hides in different seasons. Nowhere is this imitation more vivid than at rivers and streams. When an adult bear wades into the current to catch fish, cubs follow at the edge, watching every movement, the tilt of her head, the swipe of her paw, the timing of her strike. Their first attempts are awkward splashes, but soon they learn precision, reading ripples and flashes of silver in the water. These small, repeated imitations create the foundation for independence. Through copying, cubs learn the skills they'll need to survive once they leave their mother's care: how to feed, mark territory, climb, and even communicate. Every playful gesture seen between a mother and her young carries deeper meaning. Practice disguised as play. In those quiet lessons beside trees or streams, the knowledge of countless generations passes on, not through words, but through watching, trying, and doing, until instinct becomes second nature. Bears can sense hormonal changes. Males locate females in heat from miles away, guided by nothing more than invisible signals drifting through the air. During the brief window of the mating season, when timing decides the future of an entire lineage, scent becomes the language of connection. A female bear entering estrus releases subtle chemical cues through her skin, urine, and scent glands. These molecules carry detailed information, not just that she is fertile, but her age, health, and even genetic compatibility. On the wind, these traces spread across valleys and forests, lingering in vegetation or soil long after she's moved on. To human senses, the air would seem empty, To a bear, it's full of meaning. Male bears wandering vast territories detect these signals from incredible distances, sometimes more than 10 or 15 kilometers away. Once they catch the faint trace, they begin to track it with determination, weaving through forests and rivers, adjusting course as the scent grows stronger. This ability depends on their extraordinary olfactory system. Hundreds of millions of scent receptors working together, decoding each molecule like pieces of a puzzle. When the male finally finds the female, the meeting is cautious at first. Bears are solitary by nature, and courtship involves subtle exchanges of scent, posture, and sound. The same sense that guided him across the wilderness now governs every interaction, confirming through smell what sight and sound cannot. This invisible communication ensures that even in vast, silent landscapes, bears can find one another at precisely the right moment. It's an ancient coordination between biology and environment, a reminder that for these solitary giants, even love begins not with sight, but with the whisper of a scent carried on the wind. Some species raise twins more often than single cubs. In fact, twins are the most common family size among bears. While a single cub is not unusual, and triplets do occur, 2 remains the perfect number for balance. Enough for companionship and play, but few enough for a mother to feed and protect through the long months of dependence. The size of each litter depends on the mother's condition before hibernation. If she has eaten well and stored sufficient fat, she is more likely to implant multiple embryos. Her body's internal chemistry, through delayed implantation, decides how many she can safely support. When spring arrives, the den opens to reveal 2 small cubs, often nearly identical in size, though each with its own markings, personality, and habits. Inside the den, the mother tends to both equally, keeping them pressed close for warmth. As they grow and begin exploring the world, their partnership deepens. Twin cubs wrestle, chase, and learn together, developing coordination and strength through constant play. This companionship also teaches social behavior, how to share, signal, and navigate conflict. When one cub becomes cautious, the other may lead. When one climbs too high, the other waits below. For the mother, twins mean double the vigilance. Every movement, every scent, every sound is measured for danger. Yet it also means a higher chance of success. If one cub is lost, the other continues her lineage. Across forests, tundra, and mountains, the sight of twin cubs trotting behind their mother captures the balance at the heart of bear life, the blending of tenderness and survival. 2 small lives raised together, learning side by side beneath the patient watch of nature's most devoted guardian. Cubs often climb trees at the slightest danger, while mothers stand guard below. A coordinated defense that combines instinct and vigilance. For a young bear, the tree is a fortress. Within seconds of sensing alarm, a strange scent, a sudden sound, or the movement of another animal, cubs scramble upward, gripping bark with small, sharp claws and clinging tightly to the trunk. From there they wait in silence, their hearts racing, trusting their mother to handle what comes next. For the mother, this moment transforms her demeanor. Normally calm and deliberate, she becomes alert and defensive, her ears pricked forward, her head high, ready to confront any threat. Whether it's a wolf, another bear, or the distant scent of humans, she positions herself between danger and the tree where her cubs wait. If the threat moves closer, she may huff loudly, a warning, or charge suddenly, her sheer presence enough to make most predators retreat. This strategy is especially common in black bears, who are natural climbers. Their smaller frames and curved claws make scaling trees effortless, even for young cubs just a few months old. Brown bears, heavier and less suited to climbing, rely more on open ground defense, though their cubs sometimes climb small trees or rocks if possible. Beyond safety, climbing teaches young bears agility, balance, and courage. Each ascent strengthens their muscles and hones instincts they'll rely on for foraging and exploring later in life. The image of cubs perched in branches above their watchful mother captures the heart of bear family life, the balance of independence and protection. In that simple act of climbing, the wild shows both vulnerability and trust, the courage of youth, mirrored by the steadfast strength waiting below. Orphaned cubs can survive if they find other lactating females willing to adopt them, a rare but moving display of empathy in the wild. Though bears are largely solitary creatures, the bond between a mother and her young runs deep. And in exceptional cases, that instinct extends beyond her own offspring. Such adoptions have been documented among both black and brown bears. When a mother dies or becomes separated from her cubs, the orphans sometimes wander into the territory of another female with young of similar age. Rather than rejecting them, the mother may allow them to stay, nursing them, grooming them, and defending them as if they were her own. Researchers believe this acceptance is triggered by the cub's distress calls and the hormonal state of the female, whose strong maternal drive overrides caution or territoriality. These adoptions often occur soon after the loss of the original mother, when the cub's scent still carries the chemical cues of infancy. Once integrated into the foster mother's care, they quickly adapt to her routines, following her as naturally as biological cubs would. In some cases, the fostered cubs survive the season and grow to adulthood, a rare triumph in a world where most orphans perish within days. The willingness of a mother bear to nurture unrelated young speaks to a broader truth about animal intelligence. Survival may be instinctual, but compassion also has a place in the wild. These acts of quiet generosity remind us that the forest is not governed only by competition, but also by moments of mercy that ripple through generations. In the stillness of a mountain valley or forest hollow, one bear's loss can become another's kindness, a testament to the tender, surprising complexity of life in the wild. Spectacled bears of South America have unique face masks of fur, pale, creamy markings that circle their eyes and muzzle like spectacles, giving each bear a look all its own. No two patterns are alike. Just as humans have distinct fingerprints, every spectacled bear carries a one-of-a-kind design across its face, chest, and throat. These markings are more than decoration. They're a key to identity. Wildlife biologists use photographs of the bears' faces to tell individuals apart, tracking them across years and generations in the cloud forests and high slopes of the Andes. Some have neat rings around their eyes, others streaks across the nose or cheeks. A few have almost no facial markings at all, their dark fur giving them a shadowed, mysterious appearance. Living high in the Andes, the only bear species native to South America, spectacled bears are shy and elusive. They prefer misty forests and mountain grasslands, feeding mostly on fruits, bromeliads, and palm hearts, though they occasionally hunt small animals. Their thick fur and agile climbing skills help them navigate steep, humid terrain that few other large mammals can manage. These gentle foragers play an important ecological role by spreading seeds through their droppings, shaping the very forests that sustain them. Yet their population remains small, threatened by habitat loss and human expansion. To spot one in the wild is to glimpse a rare symbol of South America's living heritage. Each bear's face tells a different story, generations written in fur. Those pale markings, glowing softly against dark coats, remind us that individuality thrives even in nature's most hidden corners. The spectacled bear's mask is not a disguise. It's a signature carried proudly across the mountains of the world's longest range.
Sloth bears carry their cubs on their backs, a behavior found in no other bear species, and one that perfectly reflects their balance of gentleness and grit. Native to the forests and grasslands of India and Sri Lanka, these shaggy-coated bears have evolved a parenting style shaped by danger, terrain, and deep maternal devotion. When her cubs are just a few weeks old, the mother begins taking them along as she forages. Rather than following on foot, the cubs climb onto her back, gripping tightly to her long, coarse fur with sharp claws and small, determined paws. There they ride, sometimes 2, even 3 cubs at once, as she travels miles through dense undergrowth or across open fields. Their small heads peek out over her shoulders, ears twitching, eyes wide to the moving world. This behavior serves both safety and efficiency. The forests where sloth bears live are also home to tigers, leopards, and packs of wild dogs. By carrying her cubs, the mother keeps them close and out of reach of predators. The ride also conserves the cubs' energy and keeps them safe from thorny plants and hot ground. Remarkably, she continues to dig for termites and fruit, climb trees, and defend herself, all while balancing her precious cargo. The sight of a mother sloth bear moving steadily with her cubs clinging to her back is one of nature's quiet marvels, strength softened by tenderness. As the cubs grow, they eventually begin walking beside her,
but the memory of that bond remains. Among all bears, only the sloth bear carries her young this way, a moving reminder that in every corner of nature, love finds its own shape, built from instinct, endurance, and the will to keep life safe. Sun bears have tongues longer than their entire snout, a feature that gives them a curious, almost cartoonish look, but serves a highly practical purpose. Measuring up to 25 centimeters, their tongues are among the longest relative to body size in any mammal. In the dense tropical forests of Southeast Asia, this extraordinary tool is the key to survival. Sun bears, the smallest of all bear species, live on a diet dominated by insects, honey, and fruit. Their long, narrow tongues allow them to reach deep into termite mounds, beehives, and cracks in trees where other animals can't. Once the prey is within range, the tongue flicks rapidly, coated in sticky saliva that traps ants, termites, or drips of honey. It's an elegant feeding technique, fast, efficient, and perfectly suited to life in a rainforest. Their short muzzle, loose lips, and strong jaws add to the design. A sun bear can tear open a rotting log with curved claws, then extend its tongue deep inside to collect every morsel. Observers have noted the rhythmic, almost deliberate way they work, claws, lips, and tongue moving in practiced sequence. The sound of their feeding, a steady slurping hum, is distinct enough for researchers to recognize from a distance. Beyond feeding, the long tongue also helps with grooming and cooling, acting like a built-in brush and heat regulator. Each motion shows how evolution has shaped the sun bear for precision rather than power. Though often overlooked beside their larger cousins, sun bears are masterpieces of adaptation, compact, clever, and specialized. Their remarkable tongue, longer than their own snout, is a quiet symbol of efficiency in nature's grand design, proof that survival sometimes favors the delicate art of reach over raw strength.
Polar bear skin is black beneath their fur, an invisible secret that helps them survive in one of the harshest climates on Earth. While their outer coat appears snowy white, the skin below is deep black, perfectly engineered to absorb heat from the faint Arctic sun. Every inch of that dark surface acts like a solar panel, capturing and retaining warmth even when air temperatures drop below -30 degrees Celsius. But the fur itself plays an equally important role. Each hair is not truly white, but translucent, hollow like a tiny glass tube. When light enters, it scatters through the structure, reflecting in all directions and creating the illusion of whiteness, a camouflage that blends seamlessly into the frozen landscape. Beneath this shimmering coat lies a dense layer of underfur, and below that up to 10 centimeters of fat insulation. Together, these layers form one of the most efficient thermal systems in the animal kingdom. As sunlight hits the bear's body, the clear hairs channel some of that energy down to the black skin where it's absorbed and stored. Even in cloudy or dim conditions, this mechanism provides enough warmth to maintain body temperature. That's why polar bears rarely shiver, even when walking across sea ice for hours. This combination of black skin, hollow hair, and insulating fat is a perfect expression of adaptation, a creature shaped entirely by its environment.
From the outside, the polar bear seems like an emblem of purity, cloaked in white. But beneath the surface lies a design of remarkable precision, turning light into life in a place where warmth is a luxury. In every ray of sun that touches the Arctic snow, a polar bear quietly harvests energy. Nature's master engineer, wrapped in ice and brilliance.
Polar bear fur isn't actually white. It's transparent, a trick of physics that turns survival into illusion. Each hair on a polar bear's body is hollow and colorless, much like a strand of clear glass. When sunlight strikes these tiny tubes, the light scatters in all directions, reflecting off snow, ice, and air. The result is the shimmering white coat we see, a perfect disguise against the frozen Arctic world. This transparency serves more than appearance. The hollow structure helps trap warm air close to the skin, creating an insulating layer that keeps the bear comfortable in temperatures far below freezing. Beneath that, the skin itself is black, absorbing and storing heat from the sun. Together, these two features, transparent fur and dark skin, form a highly efficient thermal system that allows polar bears to thrive in an environment where warmth is rare. Scientists once believed that the hollow hairs acted like fiber optic cables, channeling sunlight directly to the skin. While that idea proved too simple, the truth is just as elegant. The fur reflects visible light while absorbing invisible wavelengths like infrared, balancing camouflage with heat retention. This illusion of whiteness also plays a vital role in hunting. Seals and other prey, scanning the horizon for danger, often cannot distinguish the bear from the snow or ice around it. The predator moves almost invisibly across the landscape, wrapped in the reflection of its own world. So, while we see purity and white brilliance, what's really there is transparency, a deception born of necessity. In the Arctic's endless light, the polar bear wears the color of survival itself, not white, but the reflected glow of everything around it.
Pandas have a pseudo-thumb, a clever evolutionary compromise that turns a bear's paw into a bamboo-holding tool. Unlike primates, whose opposable thumbs evolved for grasping branches or tools, the panda's version comes from a completely different source, an enlarged wrist bone known as the radial sesamoid. This tiny bone juts out from the side of the paw, forming a stubby projection that acts like a thumb. With it, pandas can pinch, roll, and strip bamboo stalks with surprising dexterity. Watch one eat, and you'll see the motion. A gentle twist of the wrist, a rotation of the paw, and a clean snap of bamboo, as if held by fingers. What looks simple is the result of millions of years of adaptation to a single stubborn food source. Bamboo makes up over 99% of a panda's diet, yet it's tough, fibrous, and low in nutrients. To survive on it, pandas had to evolve not sharper teeth or longer claws, but better hands. Their pseudo-thumb allows them to grip stalks firmly, while their strong jaws crush the fibrous stems. It's a quiet example of evolution's creativity, repurposing existing bones for entirely new functions. Interestingly,
The rest of the panda's paw still resembles that of other bears, 5 toes used for climbing and walking. The pseudo-thumb doesn't replace these. It simply adds a new capability without altering the paw's overall structure. When scientists first studied panda anatomy, they called this adaptation a marvel of nature's engineering. And it truly is. With one modified bone, the panda bridges the gap between bear and primate behavior, proving that survival isn't always about inventing something new, but about reshaping what already exists into something brilliantly useful.
Brown bears in Alaska sometimes fish cooperatively, taking turns at waterfalls, a rare display of patience and social balance among animals often known for solitude. Each summer, when salmon surge upstream to spawn, dozens of bears gather along the roaring rivers of Katmai and Brooks Falls. The air fills with spray and the heavy scent of fish, and the normally territorial bears find themselves side by side, drawn by the same need, food. At the base of the waterfall, the largest and most dominant bears claim the best spots, the ledges where salmon leap directly into waiting jaws. Younger or smaller bears linger downstream, waiting for their chance. Yet what seems chaotic is actually remarkably orderly. Instead of constant fighting, many bears take turns or move aside once full, allowing others to step forward. The abundance of fish transforms aggression into tolerance, creating a temporary peace in the wild. Observers have noted how bears learn from one another during these gatherings. Cubs watch their mother's timing and stance, mimicking how to swipe or catch a fish mid-leap. Subordinate bears study the techniques of more experienced ones, adjusting their own approach each year. Though they don't cooperate in the human sense, their willingness to share space, and sometimes even rhythm, reveals a subtle intelligence shaped by survival and opportunity. When the salmon run ends, the truce dissolves. Each bear returns to solitude, roaming mountains and coastlines until the next season. But for a few brief weeks, Alaska's rivers become arenas of both abundance and etiquette, where massive creatures, capable of fierce rivalry, practice a quiet kind of order born from plenty. In the rush of water and glint of silverfish, even nature's giants learn the art of taking turns. Himalayan black bears have a distinctive crescent-shaped chest patch, a pale mark that curves across their dark fur like a rising moon. No two bears have exactly the same shape or size of crescent, but all share the same general pattern, a gleaming band of cream or white against jet-black coats. It's a simple feature, yet it gives these mountain-dwelling bears an unmistakable identity. This striking design isn't just for beauty. It's how researchers and locals often distinguish the Himalayan black bear from its relatives in other regions. The crescent reflects light in the dense forests and slopes where they live, sometimes appearing to glow faintly against the shadowed greenery. The rest of the body is built for rugged terrain, short claws for climbing trees, a stocky frame for strength,
and thick fur for the chill of the high altitudes that stretch across the Himalayas, from Nepal and Bhutan to northern India and Tibet. Because of that luminous chest marking, the species is often called the moon bear. In several Asian cultures, it even carries mythological meaning, seen as a symbol of strength and mystery tied to the night sky. Despite their powerful build, these bears are omnivorous and surprisingly agile, feeding on fruits, insects, roots, and occasionally small animals. They spend much of their time climbing or foraging, and in harsh winters, some enter hibernation in tree hollows or mountain caves. Their crescent patch, bright against dark fur, captures the spirit of their environment, creatures born of shadow and light, thriving where forests meet stone and snow. To glimpse one moving through the misted valleys of the Himalayas is to see a piece of moonlight walking on four paws, ancient and enduring among the mountains.
The Andean bear is the only bear native to South America, a solitary remnant of a once widespread lineage that adapted perfectly to the misty heights of the Andes Mountains. Known also as the spectacled bear for the pale markings across its face, it stands as a symbol of endurance in a continent more often defined by jaguars, condors, and llamas than by bears. Stretching across 7 countries, from Venezuela down to Bolivia, the Andes hosts some of the planet's most varied ecosystems: cloud forests, grasslands, and rocky slopes. The Andean bear thrives in this diversity, climbing effortlessly through steep terrain and dense vegetation. Its strong claws and agile limbs allow it to scale trees or rocky ledges with ease, where it builds platform nests of branches to rest or feed. Unlike its northern relatives, the Andean bear is largely vegetarian, eating fruits, cactus, bromeliads, and palm hearts. Occasionally, it supplements its diet with insects or small animals, but its gentle nature and reliance on plants make it a vital seed disperser, quietly shaping the forests it inhabits. Its status as South America's only bear makes it ecologically precious and culturally meaningful. Indigenous legends often portray it as a spirit of the mountains, shy, wise, and protective of the forest. Yet this same elusiveness makes it difficult to study and vulnerable to habitat loss and human encroachment. In the grand story of evolution, the Andean bear marks the southern frontier of the Ursidae family, a living bridge between continents and ages. Hidden among the clouds, it carries the last heartbeat of a bear lineage that once roamed from the Arctic tundra to the tropical spine of South America, quiet, rare, and irreplaceable. Polar bears have partially webbed paws that help them paddle more efficiently, a design that makes them as graceful in the water as they are powerful on the ice. Living in the Arctic, where sea and land blend into one vast frozen frontier, these bears have evolved the perfect balance between swimmer and walker. Each paw can span nearly 30 centimeters across, acting like a natural paddle. The spaces between their toes are connected by small webs of skin, allowing each stroke to push more water with less effort.
When a polar bear swims, it uses its massive front paws to propel itself forward, while its hind legs steer like rudders, a smooth, rhythmic motion that can carry it for hours. This adaptation turns the Arctic Ocean into its hunting ground. Polar bears have been recorded swimming over 60 miles, 100 kilometers, without rest, crossing frigid waters between ice floes in search of seals. Their large paws distribute weight evenly on thin ice, too, preventing them from breaking through the surface. The rough pads underneath are covered with tiny papillae, textured bumps that give traction on slippery ice. Unlike most land predators, polar bears are officially classified as marine mammals, spending much of their lives on or near the ocean. Their webbed paws are central to that identity, tools of survival that bridge two worlds. In the endless whiteness of the Arctic, where land shifts and melts below their feet, the polar bear's webbed paws embody adaptability. They let a creature of ice move fluidly through water, turning cold, hostile seas into pathways. Each stroke and stride tells the story of an animal built not just to endure its world, but to master every element within it: snow, ice, and sea.
Ancient Norse warriors called themselves berserkers, from the Old Norse word berserk, meaning bear shirt. The name reflected more than clothing. It embodied transformation. These warriors believed that by invoking the spirit of the bear, they could fight with unmatched strength, courage, and fury, shedding fear and pain as if they were mere illusions. During the Viking Age, the bear stood as one of the most sacred and feared symbols in Norse culture. To wear its pelt was to wear its power, thick fur and raw force woven into legend. Berserkers were said to enter battle in trance-like states, roaring, trembling, and striking with the unstoppable ferocity of wild beasts. Some accounts claimed they bit their shields, howled like animals, and ignored wounds that would fell ordinary men. Whether through ritual, belief, or sheer adrenaline, they became living emblems of the bear's indomitable will. Beyond battle, the bear was revered as a guardian spirit, a creature of courage, endurance, and protection. In Norse mythology, warriors who carried its essence were thought to be favored by Odin himself, destined for valor and chaos in equal measure. The bear's strength symbolized both savagery and honor, the thin line between human and beast that defined the Viking spirit. Though centuries have passed, the word berserk still echoes in modern language, meaning uncontrollable rage or wild intensity. Yet its roots lie in reverence, not madness, in a belief that true strength comes from unity with nature's most formidable creatures. To go bare-shirt was to step beyond human limits, to fight as if possessed by the soul of the wild. In the eyes of the Norse, that wasn't madness, it was the purest form of power.
Native American legends often describe bears as teachers or healers of humans, powerful beings who walk between the physical and spiritual worlds. Across tribes, from the plains to the Pacific Northwest, the bear is seen not merely as an animal,
but as a guide whose life mirrors deep lessons about endurance, wisdom, and renewal. In many traditions, the bear's annual hibernation is seen as a sacred cycle, a time of retreat, reflection, and healing. When the bear emerges each spring, strong and renewed, it symbolizes rebirth and balance with nature. Some stories tell of humans who followed the bear's example to learn patience and the value of rest, while others speak of shamans who received visions or medicinal knowledge from bear spirits. Among the Lakota, Cherokee, and Haida peoples, the bear often serves as a guardian of healing herbs and protector of the sick. Medicine men, sometimes called bear doctors, were said to channel its spirit when curing illnesses or performing rites of recovery. The bear's strength was not only physical, but moral. Courage tempered by gentleness, power guided by care. Legends also portray the bear as a teacher of humility. It reminds people to live in rhythm with the land, to take only what is needed, to prepare for hardship, and to respect the unseen cycles that govern life. Even today, the bear remains one of the most honored totems in Native American spirituality. Its image appears in carvings, dances, and ceremonies as a living symbol of balance, fierce yet nurturing, solitary yet deeply connected. To learn from the bear is to learn from the earth itself, that true strength comes not from domination, but from harmony, healing, and wisdom earned in stillness. The bear is one of the 12 animals of the Chinese zodiac. At least it was in some ancient or regional versions long before the modern list we know today. While the familiar zodiac includes the dragon, tiger, and ox, early Chinese mythology often placed the bear among the sacred animals that governed time, strength, and destiny. To early Chinese peoples, the bear embodied courage and authority, traits worthy of cosmic recognition. In ancient China, the bear was seen as a creature of balance, fierce yet noble, powerful yet wise. Archaeological discoveries show bear motifs engraved on bronze vessels and royal seals, suggesting that rulers identified themselves with its spirit. Some early dynasties even traced their origins to mythical bear ancestors, claiming divine legitimacy through the animal's strength and endurance. The Yellow Emperor, one of China's legendary founders, was sometimes said to have had a bear as his totem, symbolizing his leadership over both people and nature. The bear's seasonal rhythm, retreating in winter and re-emerging in spring, also resonated with early Chinese concepts of yin and yang, death and rebirth, stillness and motion. For this reason, the bear's spirit was often honored in rituals related to harvest, fertility, and protection. Though the modern zodiac evolved differently, the bear's presence remains alive in Chinese folklore, martial traditions, and art. In calligraphy and painting, its broad form symbolizes unshakable grounding and quiet might. In every culture that has known it, the bear stands as more than an animal. It is a reminder of natural power, tempered by patience. In ancient China, it was no different. The bear walked not only through forests, but through the mythic calendar of human imagination. Early European monarchs kept bears as royal symbols of courage, living embodiments of strength,
authority, and primal nobility. Long before the lion became Europe's preferred emblem of kingship, the bear reigned as the continent's original icon of power. To early rulers, no other creature better captured the balance between ferocity and control, a beast both fearsome and wise. From Scandinavia to the forests of Central Europe, monarchs and nobles maintained bears in royal menageries. In medieval courts, tamed bears were paraded during festivals or battles' victories, symbolizing the ruler's dominion over nature itself. The bear's massive frame and unyielding temper made it a perfect metaphor for courage, a reminder that true power must be both respected and restrained. In heraldry, the bear appeared on countless coats of arms, from the brown bear of Bern in Switzerland to the bear of Berlin, still gracing the city's emblem today. For Germanic and Slavic dynasties, the bear stood not only for bravery, but for endurance, the ability to withstand hardship and emerge stronger. Some royal houses even trace their lineage to mythical bear ancestors, echoing older pagan beliefs that kings ruled with the spirit of the wild. Though later centuries favored lions for their exotic allure, the bear's legacy endured quietly in Northern Europe, where it remained the people's emblem, the strength of the land made flesh. To see a bear in the company of a king was to see the natural and human worlds intertwined, raw instinct tamed by wisdom, courage crowned by discipline. In castles and crests, the bear reminded rulers of what power truly meant, not noise or cruelty, but steady, immovable strength, the kind that commands loyalty simply by standing tall.
In medieval times, dancing bears were used as public entertainment, a cruel tradition that reflected both human fascination and indifference toward suffering. Across Europe, from England to the Balkans, bears were captured from the wild, chained and paraded through villages and city squares to amuse crowds. What seemed like a spectacle of skill and wonder was, in truth, a scene of deep misery. Handlers, often itinerant performers, trained the bears to dance by placing them on heated metal plates or near fires while music played. As the animals shifted their feet to escape the pain, people mistook the movement for rhythm. Over time, the bears learned to sway whenever they heard the melody, a reflex born of fear. Chained by the neck or nose, they were forced to travel long distances, performing for coins and food scraps while enduring constant hunger and exhaustion. To medieval audiences, these animals represented raw power subdued, a display of man's control over nature. A dancing bear was both a curiosity and a symbol of mastery. Yet not everyone was blind to their suffering. As early as the Renaissance, scholars and clergy began to question the morality of such cruelty. By the 19th and 20th centuries, animal welfare movements across Europe thought to end the practice, recognizing it for what it was, the breaking of a creature's spirit for amusement. Today, the dancing bear exists only in old paintings and painful memory.
Sanctuaries across Eastern Europe and Asia now care for the last survivors, bears rescued from chains, rediscovering grass, trees, and freedom. Their story stands as a somber chapter in our shared past, a reminder that civilization isn't measured by power over animals, but by the compassion we finally learn to extend to them.
The constellation Ursa Major, or Great Bear, has been known to every major civilization, a pattern of stars so bright and distinctive that cultures across continents and millennia looked up and saw the same cosmic animal. Its 7 main stars form the familiar Big Dipper, a celestial ladle in the northern sky that has guided travelers, inspired myths, and linked human stories since prehistory. In ancient Greece, Ursa Major was tied to the myth of Callisto, a nymph transformed into a bear and cast into the heavens by Zeus. To the Romans, it became a symbol of endurance, a creature that never sets below the horizon, circling the pole star in eternal watch. Yet the Greeks and Romans were far from alone in seeing a bear among the stars. Across the Arctic and North America, indigenous peoples, including the Iroquois, Inuit, and Algonquin, told stories of a great hunt, a great bear pursued across the sky by hunters or wolves. In China, the same 7 stars formed part of the Northern Dipper, revered as a tool of cosmic balance and timekeeping. In India, it was the Saptarishi, the 7 sages who watched over humanity. From Mesopotamia to Mongolia, from the Maya to the Vikings, the pattern remained a constant in the world's night sky, given different names, but always carrying deep meaning. Ursa Major's role extended beyond myth. For centuries, its pointer stars have led sailors and nomads to Polaris, the North Star, the anchor of navigation. Its slow rotation around the pole marked the passage of seasons long before calendars existed. In every age, people have looked upward and found comfort in its shape. The Great Bear, silent and steadfast, keeping vigil above a restless earth.
Japan's folklore depicts bears as mountain spirits guarding forests, powerful beings known as Kumo, who dwell in misty peaks and ancient woods where the human world fades into the divine. To the people of old Japan, the bear was not merely an animal, but a guardian presence, a reminder that every tree, river, and stone carries a living spirit. In many tales, bears appear as protectors of travelers who lose their way, or as punishers of those who harm the forest without respect. They represent the kami, divine spirits in Shinto belief, embodiments of nature's strength and mystery. Their presence was both awe-inspiring and humbling, a symbol of the wild places that humans could visit but never truly claim. Among the Ainu, the indigenous people of Hokkaido, the bear holds even deeper reverence. They call it Kimun Kamui, god of the mountain. Each year, the Ainu once held a ceremony called Yumante, in which a captured bear cub was honored, cared for, and finally released or ritually sent back to the spirit world with prayers. It was not an act of cruelty, but of reverence, a belief that the bear's soul carried blessings from the gods to the human realm.
Throughout Japan's folklore, the bear stands as a bridge between two worlds, mortal and divine, human and wild. It embodies strength tempered by wisdom, a force that demands respect, not domination. Even today, the bear's image endures in Japanese culture, from guardian statues to regional legends that speak of kindness hidden behind power. In every story, the message remains the same. The forest belongs to the bear, and through the bear, the spirit of the mountain continues to watch over the living world.
Inuit hunters traditionally thanked polar bears spiritually after a successful hunt, a gesture born not of superstition but of reverence. In the vast frozen Arctic, where survival depended on balance with nature, the polar bear was never seen as mere prey. It was a being of power, intelligence, and spirit, a partner in the cycle of life that sustained the Inuit for generations. After a hunt, it was customary to perform a quiet ritual of gratitude. Hunters would speak softly to the bear spirit, offering thanks for its strength and the nourishment it provided. Sometimes the skull was placed on a raised platform or facing the sea, so the bear's soul could see the horizon and return to the world of spirits. In some regions, tools or gifts, a knife, a bead, a piece of meat, were offered in acknowledgement. Every part of the animal was used with care, the meat for food, the hide for warmth, the sinew for thread, and the bones for tools. Nothing was wasted, for to waste was to show disrespect. The belief was simple but profound. If the bear's spirit felt honored, it would tell other bears that humans were worthy of trust, ensuring that hunting would remain successful in the future. Through this ritual of respect, the Inuit expressed a worldview that saw no division between the sacred and the practical. To take life required humility. To survive meant to coexist. Even today, among Arctic elders, stories of these traditions endure, reminders that gratitude was once as essential as skill. The polar bear, mighty and silent, remains a symbol of that ancient understanding, that true strength lies not in conquest, but in respect for the life that sustains your own. The teddy bear was inspired by President Theodore Roosevelt's compassion for a trapped cub, a moment that began as a simple hunting story and grew into one of the most beloved symbols of comfort in the modern world. In November 1902, Roosevelt was invited on a hunting trip in Mississippi. After days without success, members of his party captured and tied a young black bear to a tree so the president could have an easy shot. But when Roosevelt arrived and saw the frightened animal, he refused to shoot. He ordered the cub released, declaring the act unsportsmanlike. It was a brief gesture, one born of principle rather than show, yet it captured the public's imagination. A cartoon by Clifford Berryman soon appeared in newspapers, depicting Roosevelt turning away from the helpless cub under the caption, "Drawing the Line in Mississippi." The image struck a chord across the nation. Not long after, a Brooklyn shop owner named Morris Mictom and his wife Rose created a soft toy bear and placed it in their window, calling it Teddy's Bear.
The toy was an instant success, a fusion of American history and tenderness. From that moment, the teddy bear became more than a plaything. It became a universal emblem of safety, innocence, and compassion, a reminder that even power should bow to mercy. Within a few years, toy makers around the world were producing their own versions, and teddy bears became a permanent fixture in childhood everywhere. What began with a single act of empathy in a Mississippi forest grew into a quiet legacy of kindness. The president who refused to take a needless life ended up inspiring an object that, more than a century later, still comforts countless others. Soft proof that gentleness can change the world.
In Slavic myth, bears were once believed to be humans transformed by magic, ancient relatives cursed or blessed into another form. This idea ran so deeply through early Slavic culture that to see a bear was not to see a wild beast, but a being that shared blood with humankind. It was said that long ago, people who retreated into the forest and abandoned society were turned into bears by divine powers, condemned to walk upright no longer, but to live as guardians of the wild. Because of this belief, the bear occupied a sacred, ambiguous place in Slavic tradition, feared, respected, and treated almost like family. Villagers avoided saying its true name, using euphemisms instead, such as medvedji in Russian, meaning the honey eater. To speak directly of the bear was to risk drawing its spirit too close or showing disrespect. Hunters performed quiet rituals before and after a hunt, offering prayers and sharing food with the earth in gratitude, as though asking forgiveness from a relative. The myth also explained the bear's human-like traits, the way it could stand upright, use its paws with precision, and show emotion in its eyes. Some stories told of bears who could understand speech or even recognize former family members who wandered too deep into the woods. In this way, the bear became both a symbol of nature's power and of humanity's lost connection to it. To early Slavic peoples, the forest was not a separate world, but an extension of their own. The bear stood at its heart, half beast, half ancestor, bridging the wild and the human. Even today, traces of that reverence remain in folklore, where the bear is not just an animal, but a reminder of who we might once have been.
Bears are essential seed dispersers, silent gardeners of the wilderness, spreading the future of forests wherever they roam. Despite their strength and size, bears play one of the gentlest yet most important roles in their ecosystems. They carry the seeds of plants across mountains, valleys, and rivers, ensuring life continues to grow long after they've passed by. During the warmer months, bears eat enormous quantities of berries, fruits, and nuts. Their powerful digestion breaks down the pulp but leaves most seeds intact. As they travel, foraging over vast territories that can span hundreds of kilometers, they deposit those seeds in nutrient-rich scat, natural fertilizer that gives each seed a head start. In some regions, certain berry species rely almost entirely on bears for dispersal.
Their seeds germinate better after passing through the bear system. Researchers have followed bear trails and discovered tiny forests growing from these journeys, clusters of fruit-bearing plants sprouting far from their parent trees. This wandering pattern of renewal helps maintain genetic diversity in plant populations, spreading resilience across entire landscapes. Even in northern ecosystems, where few large herbivores survive, bears sustain the cycle of regeneration. From black bears in North America to Asiatic and spectacled bears in tropical forests, they move through the land as quiet agents of renewal, connecting the life of plants to the rhythm of their own movements. In this way, the bear's strength serves creation rather than destruction. Each paw step may carry seeds that will one day feed birds, deer, or future generations of bears. Their presence reminds us that even the mightiest creatures can be caretakers, stewards of growth who, without knowing it, keep entire ecosystems alive simply by being themselves.
Polar bears' movements are tracked as indicators of Arctic ice health, living, breathing barometers of a changing planet. As apex predators perfectly adapted to frozen seas, their survival is inseparable from the ice beneath their paws. When that ice forms, melts, or drifts, it shapes not just their lives, but the pulse of the entire Arctic ecosystem. Scientists fit selected polar bears with lightweight GPS collars, allowing satellites to trace their routes across thousands of kilometers. These digital trails reveal far more than where a bear goes. They map the story of the ice itself. When bears linger in certain areas, it often means the ice is stable and rich with seals. When they travel farther or swim longer distances, it signals that hunting grounds are shrinking or breaking apart earlier in the season. Over the past few decades, data from these movements have painted a sobering picture. Bears now travel greater distances each year, often swimming across vast stretches of open water once solid with ice. Mothers with cubs endure especially perilous journeys, forced to relocate dens or hunt on land where food is scarce. Their shifting paths have become a visible reflection of the Arctic's instability, a map of vanishing cold. But these journeys also provide hope. By studying how bears adapt, scientists gain insight into the resilience of Arctic ecosystems and the urgency of protecting them. Every line on a tracking map, each curve, pause, and crossing tells a story of survival against the slow, invisible tide of change. In following the polar bear, humanity follows its own reflection in nature's mirror. The bear's steps across melting ice remind us that climate change is not a distant abstraction. It moves, breathes, and struggles just as life itself does on the edge of the world. Grizzly digging enriches soil by turning over earth and aerating nutrients, a quiet but powerful form of ecosystem engineering. Though most people imagine bears as hunters or scavengers, grizzlies spend a surprising amount of their time as gardeners of the wild. Their massive claws and incredible strength make them expert diggers, reshaping the ground wherever they roam. In spring and summer, grizzlies dig for bulbs, roots, and ground squirrels,
Each excavation can measure several feet across and a foot deep, leaving the soil freshly churned. What looks like random foraging is, in ecological terms, the work of renewal. As the bear searches for food, it loosens compacted earth, exposes buried nutrients, and mixes organic matter into the topsoil, the same process farmers achieve with plows. These turned patches of ground become rich seed beds. Rain collects in the loosened soil, allowing grasses and flowers to sprout more easily. Seeds that pass through the bear's digestive system, from berries or other plants, often find their way into these freshly aerated spots, giving rise to small bursts of new vegetation. Over time, these microhabitats support insects, small mammals, and grazing animals that follow in the bear's wake. In mountain valleys and forests, researchers have found that areas frequently dug by grizzlies contain higher nutrient levels and greater plant diversity than untouched soil. In essence, each bear acts as a moving force of cultivation, redistributing life as it searches for its next meal. This subtle, unseen work reveals the bear's deeper role in nature, not just as predator or wanderer, but as caretaker. With every clawful of earth turned, grizzlies sustain the very landscape that sustains them, proving that even the wildest strength can serve the gentle purpose of creation.
Bear droppings fertilize alpine meadows with nitrogen-rich content, a simple, natural act that helps sustain the delicate balance of mountain life. While bears are known for their strength and size, their quiet contribution to the ecosystem begins in something far humbler, the soil beneath their feet. Because bears eat both plants and animals, their waste contains a concentrated mix of nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, and organic matter, vital ingredients for plant growth. In alpine regions where the soil is thin and poor, this enrichment makes a measurable difference. Each time a bear forages for berries or roots and later moves on, it leaves behind more than tracks. It leaves a pulse of fertility. Researchers studying mountain meadows in North America and Asia have found that plants growing near old bear scat tend to be taller, greener, and richer in protein. The nitrogen from the droppings boosts photosynthesis and supports the spread of wildflowers, which in turn attract bees, butterflies, and grazing animals. Through these small deposits, bears act as nutrient carriers, recycling the abundance of the forest floor back into the higher slopes. Their role doesn't end there. By spreading seeds through digestion and enriching the ground with organic matter, bears link ecosystems that might otherwise remain isolated. Forest nutrients climb upward into meadows. Alpine growth eventually washes back down through streams, feeding the entire watershed. It's a quiet cycle of renewal powered by movement and time. Every berry eaten, every meal digested becomes part of a larger story of regeneration. In the grand design of the wild, even the strongest creatures serve gentle purposes. The bear, master of the mountains, feeds not only itself, but the very land, fertilizing life in places where growth should be impossible, yet flourishes through its passing.
Deforestation and melting ice are reducing natural corridors for most bear species, fragmenting the vast interconnected landscapes they roamed for millennia. Bears are wanderers by nature. They follow rivers, valleys, and forest paths that link feeding grounds, denning sites, and mating territories. When those pathways vanish, their world quietly begins to close in. Across the tropics, forests are being cleared for agriculture and development, slicing through the habitats of sun bears and sloth bears. Where once a bear could travel freely across hundreds of kilometers, now highways, plantations, and settlements block its route. This isolation traps populations in shrinking patches of land, forcing them into conflict with humans and limiting access to food and mates. In colder regions, the crisis takes a different shape. Polar bears depend on sea ice as a bridge between hunting areas, a moving platform that connects them to seals and open water. As rising temperatures melt that ice earlier each year, bears are stranded on land, cut off from their main food source. Their journeys grow longer, their energy stores thinner, and their survival more uncertain. The loss of these natural corridors doesn't just endanger individual bears, it unravels entire ecosystems. Bears help regulate prey populations, disperse seeds, and recycle nutrients. When they disappear, so too does the balance they sustain. Conservationists now work to protect wildlife corridors, protected strips of habitat that reconnect fragmented wilderness. These green bridges allow bears to travel safely again, restoring ancient paths that once stretched unbroken across continents. To safeguard the bear is to safeguard movement itself, the freedom of life to flow through forests, mountains, and ice. Without those connections, even the strongest creatures are left with nowhere to go, and the silence that follows speaks for an entire planet losing its breath.